Happy Monday. Welcome back to Retake the Week. We've had an incredibly busy 7 days. Honestly, just a really busy weekend with a lot of CS to watch, a lot of CS to keep track of. To be clear, no one man, I think, could have watched every single game that happened between Starlight Star Series and Fissue Playground 2 without, I don't know, skipping sleep for 3 days straight. Like, it was a crazy amount of CS played. Really awesome sort of weekend for Counter-Strike fans. You had games across multiple levels, teams we don't always get to watch. Honestly, the fact that we didn't have Vitality, Mouse, or Spirit playing this weekend was fascinating because everyone got to focus in on these lesser-known teams, on some of those rosters that people, like, you see them passing by, you see them lose, then you move on, forget about them, and keep going with your day. This time you kind of had to pay attention because they were a much bigger deal in these weekend's events. It was a lot of fun, and before we get right into all of that stuff, talking all the nitty-gritty, breaking down all the details, even addressing Quack, we're first going to thank the members, who of course make this show possible, make this show available on Spotify, on Apple Music, on other podcasting platforms, which I'm sure I've never heard of because I don't use very many podcasting platforms myself. They get access to bonus content, they support the show, they get access to the right to vote. They are very important people to the channel. They make the show awesome. But yeah, that's everything from me. That's everything for the viewers, for the members. Quack, what do you have to promo?
Do I have anything? No. No, I don't. No, it's been a bit of a head down weekend, or a week, just doing my job, doing my stuff. I didn't put anything in particular. You should always read everything I put out on Twitter and Fragbite, because that's what helps me the most, but it's nothing special. Yeah, just go there. I'll tell you my next shift. My next shift is Thursday evening, so you read everything published Thursday after 6 p.m. Cest.
Cest.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. CEST, Central European Summertime.
Yeah, that thing. But
yeah, shout all my cesters.
That's far too close to. Yeah, no, I'm not going to go there. Oh, whatever you Swedes do is your problem and yours alone. But let's get into the big event, the main retake of this retake, the big site retake, whatever you want to call it. It is going to be Fissue Playground 2. Yes, I had to say it like that because I wanted to make sure I didn't mix it up with Starlight Star Series. There's been a lot of confusing names to keep track of this weekend. And we're going to begin with Furia, of course, champions of the event. And, well, they beat the case. I put it forward in a couple of different shows. I essentially said Furia have won almost no big event playoff matches over the course of 3 years. And this year, they'd beaten MIBR, that was it. They'd been disappointing at every other playoff they'd managed to actually play in. They had been disappointing. And I had them on Fraud Watch. I said it outright. This team is on Fraud Watch. This team is on Choke Watch. This team's on whatever you want to call it. They were there. They come into these playoffs after going 3-1, you know, a loss to Aurora in groups. Pretty one-sided, but also Xantares played excellently. It can happen. 3-1 into playoffs with a 2-0 Astralis with a shaky nuke, which, again, not great. They 2-0 Falcons. OT on train, close nuke. Probably more generous to Falcons than people would have liked, honestly. When you look back on it, you think you want to rail on Falcons for their event performance. The fact that they played the champions that close probably is a strong sign. And then finally, Furia Mongols, the grand final of all grand finals. Like I said on Twitter, it might be one of the best grand finals this year. When I look back on it, it's like there's a few grand finals this year that have been good, but few have had this level of play for 4 straight maps. Then a 5th map that, yes, it did fall short, but somebody had to triumph, and it was Furia convincingly on map 5. But this was a spectacular set of maps played. Like Mirage, Overtime, Inferno, all 24, Nuke, Overtime, Overpass 13-9, the most one-sided of the first 4 maps, but still a thrilling game considering those 2 teams coming into it were not expected to be particularly proficient or, you know, interesting Overpass sides on the surface. We still got excellent play across the board, and then Dust 2, yes, finished off by Yakindar, by these guys. Molodoy finally had a quiet map, basically. It was Dust 2. It was a bit of a disappointing map from him that Furia managed to win. But he takes home the MVP quite deservedly. I mean, across the final, fantastic. Almost 100 kills, 1.26 rating. Both he and Yekindar actually matched at that point in rating. But of course, over the entirety of the event and entirety of the playoffs, Molodoy just consistently excellent, consistently delivering and showing off, why he was such a great pickup. I had my questions. He's answered pretty much all of them at this point. I don't know about you, but this is also, it was a kind of link to the Furia thing where his first event playoffs, big event playoffs, he has that one series against MIBR, and after that they kind of fall off, they lose, and they don't win another playoff game, and he doesn't have the greatest stats in those matches. So I was a bit concerned, okay, maybe he also needs to get up to speed, needs to find his legs when it comes to playing on the big stages. This event, right it here. He passed the test, he beat the case, the team has, everyone's happy with how they performed. Sure, they didn't play any of those big three dogs that we talked about, the Mouse, the Vitality, the Spirit. But I'm happy with the way they played. I'm happy with the way they looked. They played Falcons and Mongols, so they had not quite the hardest run possible, maybe in theory, but they faced some of the strongest teams in the world in terms of firepower, experience. This was a real test, and Furia, they made it happen. A magnificent win.
Yep. Furia, we've talked about it for several weeks now, how Furia are playoff chokers, how Furia are never good in big event playoffs. And this is where they've sort of proven that wrong. I think they've absolutely beaten those allegations, and it's a big step for them. As you say, they don't play Vitality or Mouse or Spirit. Doesn't really matter for me here, because this was like a first step. This was like if they had faced Vitality, Spirit, Mouse, then they would have skipped several steps on the ladder of like where I think they need to progress for me. So this is one step, and that's really good. And that's put them into a very good place for where I sort of place them at the moment. So I think we're at a very interesting point of the season right now where I sort of have to ask, who are the top 5? And I think there's a case to be made for Furia being in it.
I think that's a great question that we will get to.
Good.
And we're going to talk about exactly that sort of idea in probably about 45 minutes when we're done recapping just one event. Just this event. After this event, I've like the tail end of just retaking this one. I put that in there, basically. Not exactly, but basically. And we can talk about exactly who's ranked where and all that stuff at that point. But that was kind of the question for us for Furia. We ragged on it. I brought it up on the double swing as well when Furia were picked. I was like, have you seen them win? Have you seen them win it? Like, have you seen them do it in the playoffs? Time and time again, I've seen them miss out, fall short, disappoint. And every time it's like, there's never panic stations, because every time in the past they've disappointed, it's been in the ways everyone thought they'd be disappointing. Like, sure, they made it out of groups, but people didn't like Cello. People thought Fallen wasn't a good IGL. A good AWPer, rather. There were questions around the 5th on the team, the support rifle. There were all these questions. They're like, oh, Yuri's not been in great form, but Case Rato's really good. And then they'd play a big event. They'd make it 2 playoffs, and they'd be like, oh, wow, Case Rato, great event. Hey, Skulls was okay this time. Then they play that playoff game, lose, like, oh, the calling probably wasn't that good. The AWPing, they lost that matchup. Case Rato had a couple nice moments, but overall couldn't impact the game quite the way he needed to carry the team. GG next. Like, we wait for the roster moves. And that was kind of the narrative over and over and over again. And this year, with the roster moves, we had noticed them being better, right? There was no longer the problem of, we don't rate the AWPer. We all did. We saw the talent. Like, we had questions about how he'd integrate and fit the style of play, but we saw the talent. Yekindar comes in, immediately plays well. And we expect it to fall off. It never has. So at that point, you're like, okay, the entry is settled. No longer any excuses. So as they were racking up playoff losses and playoff disappointments, I was like, the narrative is, reinvigorated. No longer do we have easy ways to just cast it aside. We have to be concerned. This was exactly the antidote to that problem.
Yeah, and for this event, you have to give a lot to Case Rato, you have to give a lot to Molodoy. Molodoy in particular, you have to give a lot of credit to. MVP, I think we talked about...
It's fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked last week, I think, about how Molodoy, being the new guy coming from internet cafes and fuck all else, you could absolutely expect him to not really work out in big level LAN play this year, but it seems like the more pressure there is on him, the more importance the match holds, the more he kind of steps up. Like he really hardens under that. So That's why he is such a standout in the playoffs. That's why, and in particular against in that Falcons match, he absolutely destroys Munacy. That was really talked about. Both in the head-to-head, but also just in the game overall. Munacy was very bad, and Molodoy does really well. And I think you can give a lot of credit to every player on Furia at the moment, because Keiserato absolutely destroys the group stage, and Yakindar really steps up for the playoffs. And even Yuri, who was very much dragging in the group stage, it is that one Falcons game, which is such a key match, and the fashion they win that in, with it's two very close maps, but they do win it out. Yuri's the huge guy there, and he starts the series with a train map 34-18, and even on Nuke he's also he's no slouch. He's an 18-18. That's really good. But even if he has, overall his event is quite bad, but I still give a lot of credit, and Yuri sort of stood out to me for that map and for that series alone. So yeah, everybody here deserves a lot of credit. It's very much a team effort, as much as Molodoy is the MVP, the clear MVP. It isn't just the Molodoy show, and it's not just that. And that's a difference maker for Furia. That's something new for them, because before it has often been that Keiserato can't do much in playoffs, or Yuri, just absolutely crumbles. Or they've had these these sheer weak points, Fallen being a weak hopper, Safe was there, Cello, Skulls, all of these players have been very weak as well. So they very much ticked off all the boxes in a way, and they look very well rounded. They are a very solid team. I saw a lot of people really clowning on Falcons after losing that match, but genuinely my feeling was a bit first of all, last week I talked about how the weak Kyosuke match was going to come at some point, and that came in that game against Furia. But also Furia are just a solid team at the moment. Falcons were favorites, probably should have won, but it's not like a huge upset where I saw a lot of people do the whole just one more star player thing, it was some sort of crisis that they lost to Furia, and I don't think it really was. Furia are really solid, but it just it's a lot of credit to Furia for all of them, all of the Furia guys, because they have just ticked off every box. There's very few more issues they need to fix at this point.
Yeah, we can obviously see how they start matching up with the big dogs when they finally play them at the next event. That's going to be fascinating to follow. But yeah, the Falcons game, the head-to-head Molodoy Munacy, it's 7-2 in AWP kills across the series and 14-3 overall. Just Molodoy outduels him in the most literal sense, because tangent, I hate this in the NFL when commentary is he outdueled the other quarterback, as if they fucking play defense against each other, which they just don't. It's the most ridiculous narrative that ever gets peddled. But in Counter-Strike, AWPs can outduel AWPers in the most literal of senses. And here, Molodoy did outduel his opposite number, Munacy. Munacy, just a dreadful series. He wasn't playing his best CS all event, but at least against Pain, he was fine. And then in the groups, I actually thought, I was kind of there for it. I was thinking, Munacy's not, again, the best player, but he's playing well enough where I can believe in this team, He's got, let me check, I'm just checking his pre-playoff actual numbers, or the games they played. But it seemed to me like he was pretty solid. He's a 126 before the playoffs. He's actually finding his impact, having a few good rounds. I mean, they were winning so handily off the back of Kyosuke, Nico, and a little bit of Tessus even, that it didn't matter too much how good he was. But when he had the opportunity to find kills, when he needed to have impact, he delivered. And that's why his round swing pre-playoffs is plus 3.4. That's crazy. Alongside a lot of actual kills. So it wasn't just, avoiding the bad deaths. It was finding the important kills. So I do think there's something to be said for Falcons still being up there. They're not 1 star away, as that, that meme is starting to really come round on. It's just, in this game, they had a sub 1.0 out of Kyosuke and Munacy. You can talk about maybe the calling not being ideal, not getting the right spots, but I do think there is an element of they're still adjusting to the players they have. They're still figuring out the best way in every situation. When this doesn't work, how do we adjust? What is our go-to switch up with Kyosuke's not finding the sort of success on his entries that we want him to? How do we change that up properly and effectively? Because, when I was watching Train, it was kind of like Train and Nuke, rather. It's kind of like, the initial idea is sometimes just not working at all. Now, we need bailouts more than we needed you know, more than we had some mixed success and then it just comes down to a close round. It's more things are desperately falling apart and we need to bring it back. So I think the calling and coaching now needs to really start taking more of a grip over this Falcons side, because it's clear in terms of just fragging, impact, star power, they can go toe-to-toe with everyone. That's not the problem they have. The problem now is getting the game plan sort of edge over a team like Furia, who don't necessarily have, you know, the Blade Alexi B combo that's just going to always outthink you. They should be a beatable side just on the strategic front, even if we do give them some credit with the way they've turned their gameplay around.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the Furia by itself. We do have a specific sort of question to answer, I think, in terms of just Molodoy himself. Rookie of the Year has been an interesting conversation. Has he locked it up? Is he confirmed Rookie of the Year? Just off the basis of this MVP, the play he's had this year, is he Rookie of the Year already? Or are we still in a wide open race with a bunch of different players who can make it?
Do you know, okay, if I'm going to try to make the case, he is the only rookie candidate who has an MVP so far, I think.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I mean, every MVP is Zywoo Donk or just the recent three, which was Techno, him, and Heavy God. And so he's the only rookie in that group, right? Like, those are the MVPs this year, pretty much.
Could maybe give it to Heavy God. I don't think he was one of the top 5 nominees they put in, but if he has basically the same leg to stand on as Icy, and Icy was in. So I think Heavy God could be a Rookie of the Year consideration.
I doubt he is. I highly doubt he is.
Maybe Jam Young also has an MVP, but he's not sure, probably not up there. Maybe an honorable mention. Yeah, he would be the only one out of the clear candidates. Because even then, even if we are considering Heavy God as well, the candidates are going to be Kyosuke and probably Tenir, Zwei, Molodoy. That's the top 4. PR probably ends up with a 5th mention. So out of all of those, Molodoy is the first one to get an MVP. I think he's outright the first one to. Was why won a couple of events, but he's not really there so far in terms of performance. I don't think he's gonna have to win a lot over the rest of the fall season to weigh up for the lack of individual skill there. So between Tenir, Molodoy, and Kyosuke at the moment, Molodoy is the only one who has a trophy. Molodoy is the only one who has an MVP. At the moment, he is the prime candidate, I would say. With the, not knowing how Tenir is going to look for Spirit, not knowing if Spirit are even going to win anything. They have already had, 2 events. It was without Tenir, obviously. It was with Zontix. But they have had arguably a dead team, considering what the news have been. But they have, sort of went out early in 2 previous events. One of them was online, even. I could see it being Molodoy. But then the question also becomes, let's say Falcons don't win anything for the rest of the year. And I'd like to ask you this question. Let's say Falcons don't win anything for the rest of the year, but Kyosuke maintains where he's at. He's a 120-something rated rifler for half a year in Tier 1 versus Molodoy's 9 months or so.
Right, even if he doesn't win reset that premise. So it's Kyosuke for this year.
We're just going to say where we are right now. Molodoy, Kyosuke maintain their averages. Molodoy, it's just the 1 trophy, it's the 1 MVP. And Kyosuke gets 0 trophies, but he maintains his average skill level. He's a 120-something rated rifler with half a year of Tier 1 play. Molodoy is a 119, 120 rated opper with a trophy, with an MVP, having beaten Kyosuke as well. Would you give it to Molodoy at that point? He also has 3 more months of Tier 1 play, I will note. And another major played.
So currently, where we sit is Molodoy at big events this year has 65 maps played. Kyosuke 27. So in terms of just big event map play, he's far ahead of him. And what Molodoy and Kyosuke have played outside of big event play this year is a couple of online things with their main teams. And then when they weren't on these teams, these actual Tier 1 teams, absolutely irrelevant. Like, I don't care. Like, this isn't a question of like when we used to bicker about Snare, and Snare's online play was the opening stage, or non-big event play was like the opening stage of the big event, playing all the teams who played in the big event anyway. It's not that. It's just nothing. So it's irrelevant, pretty much. His Spirit Academy does nothing for this. So let's say they end up with like, let's say Molodoy ends the year on 100 maps of Tier 1 play, of big event play, Kioske on probably around 65, 70.
Yep.
If the rating gap is still this big, I think we'll have to have a genuine argument. We'll be throwing shit at each other. Like we'll be counting EVPs. We'll be seeing how many playoff maps. Like what's the playoff rating like? We'll be having an argument borderline verging on like what we'd have for like who's 5th versus 4th on the HLTV top 20, just for Rookie of the Year. It'll be an absolutely insane Rookie of the Year class.
Yeah,
it'll be tough.
It absolutely will be. I think the way it's looking right now, I'm fully on board with it being, it's realistic that Falcons just straight up don't win an event this year. They have...
Yeah, it's realistic.
Yeah, and there's a chance that Furia take more wins. Furia are the kind of team who probably are going to play... they're not going to play the Asia Championship, but they're going to play the Thunder Pick thing, which Falcons are not. Which is... It's sort of like it's the same level... If you took half of Fissue, it's like a star ladder kind of thing, where that's another event which is gonna come into the consideration of things. And then we have Bucharest, we have Chengdu, we have rivals where Furia are already they're not confirmed, but they're probably gonna be there as the top NA invite, or the wild card South American invite or anything. It's like there's a couple of events left. Unless Falcons are winning the major, I'm not sure they win anything this year. So Kyusuke ends up with no trophies. And then Molodoy has one minimum, maybe two, if they win something like Thunderpick. If you're looking at Thunderpick right now, Mongos are there, Furia are there, Falcons are not. That's like based on this event, Furia should win that. Like, and then there's nobody better. There's like 9Z, OG, and Imperial. Navi are there. Like, I could absolutely see that Falcons don't win an event this year, and then I have to give it to Molodoy, unless Tenir goes absolutely insane on Spirit, because then he enters the conversation. But at this point, we have
the conversation of maintaining your averages. If Tenir maintains his level of output whilst playing on this Spirit side with Donk, with Shiro, they're going to win a bunch of stuff. They're going to win a lot, and he's going to rack up EVP after EVP. If not, maybe a glitch MVP should Donk, take a 125 when Tenir hits a 126 type of shit, That seems like the most realistic context for him winning an MVP. If that kind of thing happens, and you're talking, all of a sudden Tenir has the bigger trophy cabinet, and he spent the entire year playing Tier 1 or Tier 1 adjacent Counter-Strike, carrying bums rather than carrying teams against bums, which is what the others would have been doing. Yeah, we'd have a three-way conversation that, again, will get probably very vicious as everyone, digs himself into their corner and starts flinging mud pies, because it'll be contentious and it'll be difficult and it'll be an interesting conversation to have. But currently, based on what's realistic, I don't think that Tenir probably ends up entering the conversation, because I don't think he gets that MVP. I think Kioske, just given that his playoff ratings have been lower than his group ratings, and the fact that Falcons haven't found the right formula yet, probably means they don't win anything, and he doesn't get a big, impressive, flashy MVP run to like go with it. Yeah, me, it feels borderline confirmed we're going to get a Molodoy Rookie of the Year, unless he has a drop off for some stupid reason. He like forgets how to move his wrist or something, or gets hit by a bus. Knock on wood. But something stupid happens. He doesn't know how to play CS anymore. Maybe he doesn't win Rookie of the Year. But as it stands, Rookie of the Year, just with the combination of factors, in terms of, big event play, his level of play in those big events, his actual MVP, Molodoy currently is gapping the competition. Because the people who have the sort of level of play in terms of like just the reps at this sort of level, think of like PR, who has a lot of reps at big events this year, just doesn't have the statistical like performance to match. Like, he's a 110 kind of rated rifler, and we love the impact he has on this Game of Legion size, but they've also not had that many deep runs. They're a team that loses a lot, so he has to deal with that in terms of taking a negative hit on his stats. He just doesn't have the numbers to compete. So I do see this as a two-horse race that I feel is almost ready to be called.
Yeah, and I'll give you for Tenir as well. Obviously, he has a stronger leg to stand on outside of big events. I still don't think any of that is enough to weigh him over Molodoy or Kyusuke. But the fact of the matter is, it is going to be the case that Tenir gets 3 months of play on Spirit, like he is still only on 21 big event maps. And he's got a bigger body underneath him. Like he's got the play and stuff. He's got lands like Mesa and stuff, which the others just didn't play.
Yeah, he has some legit non-big event play. That was always my point. Yeah.
Yeah, but at this point he's going to be up to having a 2-month break without big event play, or like, and even like play in general. Because Spirit took a 1-month break just after signing him.
Yeah.
And before that, Heroic weren't really playing anything. Like they played Esports World Cup, but they didn't play. They didn't play this Fissure event with him. The last Fissure event they played was not considered a big event by HLTV. It was a significantly weaker field there. We didn't have. I'm not even sure we had any top 10 teams attending at that point. So, Furia was the only top 10 team attending by VRS ranking. So at the first Fissure playground. So Tenier is difficult. PR has a bigger big event leg to stand on than Tenier, map count wise. It is just the fact that at the moment and at the end of the year, PR is probably going to end up with more maps. I don't think Tenier is at risk of having signed for Spirit. I don't think he's at risk of ending up like below the cutoff for however many maps you need, especially if Spirit win a trophy. But it's like if Tenier ends on a 115, 116 something for the year, and he only has 40 big event maps relative to Molodoy and Kyusuke ending on 60 and 100, then I don't think that's enough to beat them, like almost no matter what happens. So right now it's a 2-horse race, and Tenier is going to have to he's going to have to show stuff for me to change my mind on that. But it's Molodoy or Kyusuke at the moment for me.
Yeah, I've just realized my chat decided not to update, and so I was reminded when it did update. Mattis, is he MVP? Is he Rookie of the Year eligible?
He would be, but Heavy God got the MVP at that event.
Yeah, but I'm asking if Mattis is Rookie of the Year eligible. That's not what I asked.
I see what you mean. Let me see. I don't think Mattis. He would have appeared at big events. I think maybe he played a major with Fnatic. No, he didn't.
The problem is, what did he do on Fnatic? Like, did he cross the barrier, the threshold, the HLTV threshold for big event play and whatever
He's played ESL Pro Leagues, but like again, IC played 2 majors and he's still eligible for this year apparently. Like he played 2 majors last year for 2 different teams, including I think they even.
It's about what stage of the major. That's usually what they say.
I think he made top 16, and Mattis has only played 1 major stage, and it was Perfect World where he came last. And then he's played ESL Pro Leagues and stuff. I think he played 2 ESL Pro Leagues last year. Also came last. He didn't really play playoffs. Mattis is eligible. I'd say he could pip PR for like a top 5 spot. I don't think, or Zwei maybe even. I don't think he's going to make it into the.
Being above PR already is just criminal hate speech. Like.
Yeah, like whichever one of them 2 ends up being higher, because it depends on what GL play, and Zwei I sort of feel like is going to be there because he's going to be in semifinals and grand finals, and as long as he isn't absolute dog shit, I'd be fine with having him a ROTY rookie like nominee if he averages 1.05. I'd be fine with that. If PR is doing a 1.07 and is not making grand finals, then I'd take Zwei over PR. So that's
if PR takes a 0.04 dip in his year rating on big events, sure. He's 111 top on Gamer Legion, and has notably been fantastic at big events for this bum of a team since the last 6 months have just been horrible. Like, it feels like it's been so long. But PR has been fantastic, flawless.
Doesn't really matter who I think Mattis could absolutely take that like second spot. And I don't think the thing about Heavy God, which we've talked with last time we talked about this at the mid-season break, I don't think Heavy God was considered for last year's Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
He should be for this one because again he played with IC on Cloud9. He didn't play very much Tier 1 on OG. And then he joined G2. So like if IC's fine, he was one of the like mid-season. This is one of the guys we're considering from HLTV. If IC's fine, then Heavy God's going to be fine, and I'd take Heavy God over Mattis. Technically,
it may be because he made it deeper at the Perfect World Major, like with OG. What stage is this? RMRB. Never mind. What the fuck is this talking about?
At Copenhagen, he won no, that was the RMR. Never mind. He wasn't even in Copenhagen.
Oh, he didn't make Copenhagen.
He has less.
I'm trying to figure out what it is.
He was at the opening stage of the major. He won a single game with Cloud9, same as IC. Thing is, IC also played in the Copenhagen major. he was there as well, and I think was in the first stage. So Heavy God should be one of the considered players. I think at this point, I think honestly they might have just like Deadass might have just forgotten about him, because Icy is coming up on his 4th major with Budapest. You know the way it's looking. Heavy God is coming up on his 3rd. Why is Heavy God not being considered? Because again, like OG didn't play.
Unless they genuinely believed Heavy God was inferior to Icy when it comes to Rookie of the Year conversations. Because again, they grade on attendance or some other bullshit, you know. But
yeah,
I don't know. I didn't realize you worked for them, so I don't think that's the case at all. So,
yeah, because Heavy God didn't even play. Shanghai was the only big event he played. He didn't like OG didn't even make like Cologne play-ins or anything like that, which is what we are considering for Tenir and such. Like Heavy God, he didn't play anything. He played Blast groups twice for Cloud9 and OG last year, and that was it. So I think they genuinely just forgot about him, to be honest, because he is kind of under the radar. It took a while for me to realize, hang on, there's a guy missing here, and it should be Heavy God. So
yeah, if Heavy God's a rookie, then the Rookie of the Year conversation is far from over.
If I'm making my own case right now, Molodoy is number 1, Kyusuke number 2, Tenir number 3, PR number 4, Heavy God number 5, and I could even swap.
Damn.
I could even swap Heavy God and PR, because it depends.
You can put Heavy God 2nd, given the year he's had. He's got a big event MVP, legitimate carry stats for the entire year.
Depends. It really depends.
Playing every single big event. He's got 100 and something big event maps. Like, he is a legit, he's not just a Rookie of the Year candidate if he is a rookie, but he's also a legit, like, top 10 player candidate, given the year he's had. So the idea that he'd be 5th is lunacy.
Yeah, he could float around a bit. I think if there's a bunch I'm swapping, it's probably him, PR, and Tenir, and they could float around a bit. It's very even between them in my head. If I'm predicting HLTV's decision, I think Tenir is going to be lower, PR is going to be 4th, Heavy God should be 3rd. Could see PR being 3rd as well. It's crazy if I'm predicting what they're going to say. I'll have to ask somebody about this.
Yeah, if they can confirm to us whether or not Heavy God is a rookie, that'd be nice. And then could they also confirm why if he isn't? I mean, we do have some confusion in terms of what the criteria is, because I swear it's pretty set what the criteria is. It just somehow doesn't seem to apply correctly across, well, Icy and Heavy God quite specifically.
Yeah, I'm DMing somebody right now. Carry on with the show.
All right, I will. Our next topic, because we did say we'd try to make these quick, and then we've ended up only on 16 minutes on the Rookie of the Year conversation. I have a question for you, which I'm assuming you're not going to answer for a second, so I'll start answering it for you. Who let you down at this event? Where the hell is my thing? There it is. Like, who let you down? Who concerned you at Fissure Playground 2? Like, who was the team you saw the result and you went, ooh, or the game where you're like, I don't like the look of you in that one. I don't like where this is going in general. Like, who was your concerning team at this event?
I have a good answer, and I thought about this earlier, and it's FaZe. I think you could give it to several teams, but I'll give it to FaZe.
I've got to hear this. Okay, what's wrong with FaZe?
Going 2-0 to 2-3 and losing to Liquid in that final match is insanity. That's a big ass failure, to be honest.
Is that it?
That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
you could give it to Gamer Legion. I think you could give it to Heroic. Is for me personally a disappointment, but I also think they played close games against relatively evenly matched opponents. It's gonna happen. 3D Max is another one you could give after the opening game they had. But like, for me, FaZe, seeing them go 2-0 in a pool of Falcons, Aurora, Furia, and FaZe, and then saying that they would go out, I would have never predicted that. So they disappointed me, to be honest. Especially when you have like Astralis and Pain making it into playoffs, and VP being on the cusp, and Liquid, again, as I said, Liquid making it into playoffs. FaZe should have been in that crowd if I'm just looking at the event as a whole. They had tough opponents, but I feel like they should have won one of those games.
So FaZe, firstly, they lose to Falcons. Expected, predicted. Just Falcons were looking so rampant, and FaZe just do not have the firepower to match up with an on-form Falcons. I didn't think that would happen. They then lost to Mongols 2-1, where they put up a good Inferno and Nothing else, really. To be honest, again, it's a game we're going into it. I didn't expect them to have any real edge in the matchup. So I wasn't bothered by that loss. I pretty much expected that loss. They then play Liquid. At which point, this is a weird goddamn matchup. Like, really weird. Because we're talking about, this is FaZe facing future player Twists. With some kind of, at least on the outside looking in, confusion and mystery as to who the hell he's even coming in for. And whilst he himself is having a ridiculous sort of uptick in performance, just recently in general, he's been playing really well. But in terms of this specific event, also has some other players overperforming. Ultimate put up a decent group stage, especially that low bracket run. It's a strange matchup where Liquid have a whole lot more to fight for. And so I agree, it's concerning that you managed to not lose. You managed to lose it without winning a map, especially. Like, you lose Ancient and Dust 2 straight maps, 13-3, 13-6, 13-7. How do you manage that? Like, surely there's got to be some fight in you. Like, Liquid going forward, I knew would be a bit of a bogey team, just with the individual form. I even picked them to get a map against Mongols, and they did. But I think, yeah, there is some concern for FaZe. It's just, I don't think it's the biggest red flag team of this period, just because they are expecting to lose a player. They are in kind of flux, embedding a new literal child into the roster. Like, they are, well, not literal child, but they are in a weird spot as a team right now. And so the fact that they made it 2-0 in the first place was a bit of a shock. Like, handling Pain and 3D Max like that was not expected, considering they are supposed to be a bit in turmoil internally. Like, they are supposed to be a team that's kind of dead and on the way out, looking to the future rather than really focused on what's going on today. So that's why FaZe, for me, it wasn't the biggest concern. That wasn't my biggest red flag team. For me, I almost said Heroic, but then I was like, speaking of teams who are in absolute fucking turmoil, chaos, no idea what's going on, what will happen tomorrow, they are a bit of a mess. Not really that bothered. 3D Max, though, holy crap. What a 3D Max event this was. Opening it up with that 2-1 victory over Mongols, with Gravity newly calling, Maka now focusing full-time on the AWP. That first game, that best of 3, was like, this is how it's going to work. We were geniuses. Look at this. Maka's unleashed on the AWP. Body's fragging nicely. Even Gravity is finding more impact than he used to before, where he was very boom or bust. And I'm talking, that guy could have been in Maxim. Like, it was a lot of bust, if you know what I mean. Like, that guy was struggling. Yeah. So I was mildly intrigued by the way that started, with that win over the Mongols. Huge upset. But it's an upset they've made happen before. Let's see what happens next. They lose to FaZe. And they lose map 2 and 3 dramatically. Like, those are not close games. They are poorly played maps of Counter-Strike by this team as well. It's not just like, you lost. It was one-sided. The other team maybe overperformed. No, you also played poorly, very poorly, in those games. I don't care what kind of numbers Jacob and Rain put up. As 3D Max, you should have done better. Then go into a matchup in the 1-1 pool with Gamer Legion. Again, if you wanted that first Mongols victory to be legit, you have to win this game. You lose it, on paper you can excuse it. Down into the low bracket, you play Virtus Pro. If there was ever a free win, it was this one. You had to win this. 1 and 2. You're playing a Virtus Pro team with Toro, Perfecto calling. This is a Virtus Pro team who showed us in their opening matchup against Falcons. They might be the worst Counter-Strike team in Tier 1, 1.5 and Tier 2. Like, that's how poorly they played their Counter-Strike, just conceptually. Just the way they approached rounds, the way they approached the game. They looked dreadful. The fact that you couldn't beat them. If you're not signing Nechu, I don't want to hear about you anymore. I'm done with you as a team. Like, that was a catastrophic, unmitigated failure. And a disaster. Just a disaster.
Very true. Am I disappointed by that? No. It's 3D Max. You said yourself, their floor is
doesn't
the
exist.
Core of the Earth.
Yeah,
it is the Earth's core. Yeah.
I thought honestly, I said it was like it was in my Discord. I was like, yeah, they don't have a flaw. But I said that after they lost to this team. Before that, I thought they could beat a fucking Virtus Pro, like a team with basically a promoted teenager, a IGL who has no idea what's going on really, and a team with honestly as a group, a collective, no idea what they're doing. Surely you can take care of business here after taking care of Mongols in your opening game. I was sorely mistaken. They have no flaw.
Yeah. So for that, I'm like, it's not expected, but it's hard to say that this is a big surprise either. So am I that disappointed? No. It's 3 max. It's 3 max. I'm more disappointed by FaZe in that honestly. I'm honestly more disappointed by VP and Liquid doing good than I am about any of the underperformers. Like, I'm more disappointed in everybody else for letting VP and Liquid do good at this event. Like, oh,
I mean, Liquid made top four, and I get it. Twist massively overperforms. Well, massively overperforms. He performs actually to his level. It's more the rest of the team around him who overperformed in this game, right? Like in this sort of run, because he's been like Twist giving you a 125. You're like, that's kind of what he's been doing over the last couple months. Like, he's just been that good. But the fact that NAF shows up, Ultimate shows up, Nerds has some insane series. It is a bit disappointing. Like, we really hoped they'd bottom out. We all did. No one's rooting for Liquid right now.
Nope. Nobody is. It sucks. It just does suck. I can't give it anything else, to be honest.
No, there's not much more to elaborate on. They've been, dire, absolutely dire. We did have another topic here, but we kind of addressed it directly when we talked about Furia playing Falcons. I was just going to talk about Falcons and like what went wrong for them, and we kind of went over it. Like, the initial ideas weren't working. They didn't have much in terms of counterplay ready, and they, on top of that, got a very poor performance out of Kyosuke and m0NESY. Let's be real. They're still roughly where we hoped / expected them to be at this point in the season. Which brings us on to the more open question I said we'd get to at some point. Do we have a number one team in the world? And by extension, what are we at? Like, where are we at as a scene, as a state? As far as top 1, top 5? Who is in that top 5? Do we still have that upper echelon team, then a pack that's following them? And how big has that pack got? Like, we seem to be in a really strange state, borderline an era of parity, as some people call it in other sports. But there's no clear number one. No one's expected to go and win every event with the way things have been going currently. What's your take on this? Do we have a number one team? And if so, if not, how do the tiers, essentially, of this scene play out?
I think it's the most difficult thing is that most of the top teams have been skipping. That's the trickiest part about picking a number one right now. And all of the teams that have been skipping, we're talking about Vitality, we're talking about Spirit. I think even Mouse have been.
Mouse have skipped this one. They've skipped a couple, I think, over the entire sort of year.
That's but this period in particular as well, when we're talking about like with these events happening, those teams have skipped and they haven't been around. That's not, that's the. It makes it really difficult to pick one because those are 3 out of the, I would say, 4 top 1 candidates we have right now. So Mongols get a big buff because they're the guys playing. They also get a debuff because they lost the grand final to Furia. G2 are also a recent big event winner. Also didn't really have to play Spirit to get there. And I don't know. I can't pick a top 1 right now. I think it's very difficult. It's very much a transitionary period. Like always, like I usually say when we have big ties for who would be and who wouldn't be, higher ranked or a number one, I would say that I look at the trajectory, who's moving where. Vitality and Mouse are probably on a bit of a downtick. Spirit and Mongols, I would probably say, they have both for and against. I'd probably say they're about plateauing. They're not really, they're kind of where they are. And, those are probably pretty much the candidates we have overall. So I would say, if you put a gun to my head and ask me to pick a number one right now, I'd probably have to say Mongols, because it is like a detracting factor for Vitality, Mouse, and Spirit that they don't play. But then it's also like, I can in good conscience say that I definitely think Mongols are the number one. I don't think we have a number one at the moment.
Okay. I'm pretty much there with you. Like, I think Pro League is going to be very important for determining who actually is the best team in the world, because we do have everyone in attendance at Pro League.
I think it's also one of the last events where we're going to have everybody attending, because I'm pretty sure, like before the major, of those candidates.
Everyone's at Chengdu.
Are they?
Yep. Yeah, Vitality, Mongols, Mao's, Spirit, all at Chengdu. So are G2, Furia, Falcons, Navi, FaZe. Like, it's a pretty stacked event.
All right. Okay. So we have EPL. I don't think Bucharest. I think the HLTV page shows that event as like that everybody's predicted to come, but not everybody is.
There's no reveal on the invites for that one yet, so we're kind of up in the air.
There is, but I'm not sure it's the accepted invites which have been revealed. It's very. I'll have to. Liquipedia lists who's gonna. No, never mind. They don't. Never mind. There's no announcement.
Yeah.
It's weird because I know for a fact I've heard who's gonna be there. Like, I've seen it, and like who's going to be there. I think these predicted teams are the ones that have been invited. It's just we don't know who accepted it, because there was the travel issue with Bucharest. Bucharest and Chengdu was the travel like the. Yeah, we're probably not going to have everybody there at Bucharest, so it's going to be EPL and Chengdu who decides who are the favorites going into the major. Because at the moment, those. Probably Mouse I would put a tier below at this point, because they just do not close any of those finals. Semifinals and finals, they just don't close any of that. Vitality, Mongol, Spirit are very even right now. EPL and Chengdu are what's going to decide who is my favorite for winning the Budapest Major, and it's going to be one of those three. If it isn't one of those three, then holy shit, we are in for a major and a half. Because if there's a sudden rise from Falcons, Mouse, I won't even count Navi out at the moment. Like, again, they played a bit of a layup event and they won it, but like, they are in that top 5 conversation. We did just talk about our Furia in the top 5 conversation. We don't know what the hell is going on with like FaZe, and Aurora can never really be counted out of like a grand final appearance. It's just like there's a bunch of teams who just have one more step to take to enter this conversation as well. So we're set for a really competitive Budapest Major, and I do really like that.
Yeah, so where I'm at with the scene right now is I'm going to ignore trend. I'm going to talk about just in terms of team, the way I've seen them play CS, the way I think they will play CS, and roughly break them down. This is where the old segment, the King's Tiers, would have been real useful. That is if I ever had my Sundays to do basically production meetings and set up this kind of thing in proper advance. So what I have is essentially this. I still think the number 1 and number 2, in no order, just the top 2 teams, the 2 teams that are expected going into every event to be in the grand final at worst. Still Vitality and Spirit. Then behind them, I have sort of a grouping of teams that I think are right now either making the case to be moving into that sort of zone, but haven't actually. Like, I don't actually think they have. And those are the Mongols, Mao's, and G2. There's a bit of a song and dance for those guys to be making that move up. And I think Furia can now be included in that section as well, having given that they've also won an event. So I'm going to put them in that section too. G2 are there too. Then behind them, unfortunately, has to be Aurora and has to be Falcons. Because they haven't made deep enough runs recently. They haven't played good enough CS recently. The option for them to come flying up the boards is still open. I think Falcons far more likely than Aurora, but I have them below in a separate, like, sort of third tier beneath the true eternal favorites, the correct sort of trending teams. They are just a step below that. That's where I have Falcons and Aurora. After that, it's fucking chaos. You have the Navis, the phases of the world, who are struggling to separate themselves from the main body of like 3D Max and Astralis type teams. You know, from like, I guess those teams I listed, those 8 of them, from 9 onwards to about 20. It's just about who gets the right invites, who gets the right sort of run, who's on a heater. And unfortunately, Navi and FaZe are in that mix. They're not able to separate themselves currently with the roster they have and the results they've had. So that's sort of where I have it. That's how I have the teams kind of logically placed in my head. And that's what really, for me, determines my expectations going to every event. I expect those top 2 teams to make the final. Less than that, disappointing, we have to address it. Why? The teams beneath them sort of want to aim for top 4. Again, make top 4 great. Don't. We have to have a real conversation about why. If you didn't lose to another one of those teams or to the teams above, problems. Then those final 2, I need you in playoffs. If you're not in playoffs, why? You know, it's all about that. Like, what I expect from you and what sort of result I'm going to question when you don't make it that far. So that's how I see the scene. It is honestly a lot of fun to have kind of an open field going into this stretch of events. If a team establishes themselves, let's say, because we have Pro League, Chengdu, right? Those are the 2 real big events coming up. Pro League, Chengdu, hopefully Bucharest. I don't think there's any other event with the full squad, as it were. If a team manages to win both of them, they're our number 1 team. They're our number 1 favorite going into the major. If it ends up in a weird split of teams winning different things, and some teams makes it like to a grand final, then bombs out, and then the next one, another team down the list makes it to 2 semi-finals, and no one actually establishes themselves or makes enough of a case to shift the rankings, well, Budapest is going to be brutal. Absolutely brutal. And yeah, I'm here for it. I really am. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it a lot. I've just done the math. I got a response from Harry actually about what the eligibility is. IC is eligible technically by the criteria I've been given. Heavy God is not, and the answer is basically. So I don't know if these are. I assume these are public. I assume it looks like he's copied it from an HLTV page.
Yeah, he said it before, but I've never done the numbers myself.
It's to do with how many maps you've played versus top 20 opposition, both overall and on LAN. How many big events, including super elite play-ins, you've played. If you cannot have made an appearance at the second stage of a major, and you cannot have been top 20 for more than 20 weeks. That's what it's to do with. So ICS, basically Heavy God has played 12 before 2025. He played 12 too many maps versus top 20 opponents overall, and that's basically the only thing disqualifying him. He has 12 too many maps.
Okay.
Mattis is also disqualified by that. IC has 11 too few, which is why he is a rookie candidate. In every other category, both Heavy God, IC, and I think Mattis as well is eligible. So that's just the thing. If Heavy God was considered last year, I can only assume he was, because they look very broadly at like rookie of the year. It's just the thing. Of course he was considered, but he was competing with Malbs, Donk, Zontex, I think were the top 3. Heavy God last year, Heavy God was nowhere close to any of them because he didn't appear in top play basically at all. So
which is why we thought he might be eligible this year, because last year he barely played. You know,
but he does have 72 maps versus top 20 overall, and I can't. That's too many. So sad for him.
Yeah, rest in peace, Mattis and Heavy God. Interesting rookie of the year candidates they would have made. Instead, we're going to probably end up with Zwei in there, and I'm going to be like, okay, good job. You were on the right team. Same thing for Johto.
It's a little bit weird because you can't really be a bubbler and make it up into Rookie of the Year, which is why I sort of feel like, do these things need to be codified? I feel like if HLTV just didn't have any criteria and went off of vibes, I would trust them, because I read HLTV because of I trust I like their expertise. I enjoy reading their expertise. I enjoy the people, like the opinions of the people who work there. I don't care so much for where they will set arbitrary limits for what is good and what is bad. You know, if they said on a hunch Molodoy is Rookie of the Year, I would probably appreciate that, and I would think it would be more engaging because you can disagree with it. This is sort of what I feel like with Coach of the Year and Team of the Year. Usually it just goes to whoever won the most trophies and whichever coach won the most trophies, because they feel that they need to be objective and go off of stats. To a degree, of course. There's also
they didn't actually pick those. Those were all voted on by players and other such experts.
There's a twofold thing, because they go with, there is like a vote, there is like an arbitrary thing where they pick a couple of candidates and then, you know, they sort of rise through based on stats. Then there's a vote by experts, which is supposedly was the reason why Cyclone was top 3 instead of Taz, because otherwise Taz would have been on pure stats. So I feel like just go fully subjective. You know, if you want to pick Mara to be coach of the year, fucking go for it. Like I you know, it's more fun. It's more fun, and like engage us with disagreements rather than trying to be as objective as possible. But that's just me. But anyway, TLDR, Mattis, Heavy God are not eligible.
Okay.
And yeah.
Let's move on to the other event that happened this weekend that needs to be recapped. We're going to start with the champions of Starladder Star Series Fall 2025. Iconic, as always, the naming systems of these events. NAVI did their job. Now what? That's essentially my question to you. Because, look, coming into this event, you look at the field. NAVI supposed to win this. They are a full, like, dozen ranking points or ranking places higher than the next highest ranked team on any of the ranking systems, really, coming into this. They are expected number one, like, seeds to win this. Like, this is just who they are. They're going to win this. They do it. They don't get upset at all. They don't even have to make it through the lower bracket. They, you know, they beat 9, beat Passion UA, beat NIP, then beat NIP again. You know, they beat NIP twice. They did what they had to do. They did their job. Does that, for you, Quack, change anything about the way you are seeing Na'Vi, how you expect them to play, the kind of results you expect from them in the future? Or is this just a big shrug and some money, I guess, in their pockets?
This event is a bit of a par for the course. I would have been... I think they had more to lose than they had to gain by being the only sort of top contender here at this event, where they should have won the event. If they didn't win the event, that was a failure. Winning the event isn't really that big of a deal. It doesn't change much for me. I think they're close to the top 5 conversation. I don't think this event moved them much closer. I think they are there. It's previous events which do it for me, and how they've played during the fall season so far. So, no, it doesn't change anything much for me.
Yeah, because their season starts with that outstanding Cologne top 4. Makaze debut looks fantastic. The team have some added pep in their step. And then they go to Bounty, lose to Astralis. EWC, lose to 3D Max. Blast Open London, lose to FaZe and M80. This is what, you know, separate them. This is why I'm talking about in the FaZe conversation outside the top 8. In that weird sort of 9-20 pack. But Starladder Star Series Fall doesn't counter that, does it? It's far from being, again, the antidote to the poison that was those losses. Sure, it might help them on their confidence in the long run. They'll be like, you know, a bit more believing in their own sort of propaganda about themselves. You know, after Cologne, they probably felt like shit, losing to all those really weak teams. But I don't think this really proves a whole lot to themselves or to anyone else. The more interesting conversation, I think, for them is, should they have even attended this? Or should they have been in Fissue?
I think they should absolutely have been in Fissue. I think most teams should have been in Fissue. This event was very awkward. It was supposed to be a big event. It was supposed to be a top 16. And it's technically defying the tournament operation rules regarding what should be VRS ranked in the first place, technically. So, because they made a lot of last minute changes, they made a lot here and there, teams were replaced, etc., etc. Very awkward. It's competitionally, yeah. If there was even one more team they could have competed with here for like at a relatively similar level, let's say Falcons were over here instead, or Furia were over here instead, then yeah, this would have been entirely worth it. But it's, I don't think they also don't. When I say they don't gain anything, that's not objectively. They did gain 182 VRS points. They go up 6 spots on the VRS supposedly.
Yeah, they go from 15th to 9th on VRS, which is nice.
Were they seriously 15th before
Temporarily,
this?
Temporarily, like mid-event. Like when they come into the event, they're 13th, like before the event starts. Like,
what the fuck?
I think something must have decayed or some sort of update happened that dropped them to like 15th, just in between the start and the end of the event, I guess. Like, it's strange. Or maybe between
August
them being
18th.
Invited and it starting.
August 18th, they were 5th. And September 15th, they were 13th on VRS. Wow, that's a big drop. Okay. And I don't think they even lost very many games. No, they lost to FaZe, they lost to M80. In that time they lost to 3D Max, they lost to FaZe, they lost to M80. But I don't think those games over. It's a decay thing for sure. Wow. It's still worth it for them to go here. It still puts them up there. I don't think that I had them outside the top 10 conversation, despite the VRS showing that at any point in between there. It is just it's a good thing for them. It's good for them to get a trophy. I think that's going to bolster them quite a bit, personally, because they came off of that 2024, which was really good for them. Going into this year, they really sort of dropped off. They've had to make a roster change. Just getting a trophy into the cabinet at this point is probably good for them. So I think they still gained out of going here. Could they have gained more going to Fissure? Probably they wouldn't have won it. So
yeah,
it's a give and take.
And maybe make playoffs, maybe one playoff win. Yeah, because it's not like I saw. That's my other problem with what I saw at this event from them. I didn't see them shore up the problems I had with NAVI, which is to say, they right now, they're open to playing Ancient. I don't think they're a very good Ancient side. I think they're far too reactive and panicky in their rotations. I don't think they have a go-to sort of exec they can reliably get the bomb down with. They've just struggled to establish those parts of the Ancient game that you need to get right. They've struggled with it. So I saw that loss to 9 coming, basically. That was the freest 2-1 pick I've ever had. I don't think they've settled those sorts of concerns. And against NIP, they played Nuke Inferno. It wasn't like they got an opportunity to flex their map pool a bit, test some stuff, show off that they could win on an extra map. That was the real sort of crux of it. If you were able to at least get that out of the event, you could make a case for it having shored up their map pool, whatever. But instead, it's not even any map pool concerns have been assuaged. So I'm just, a bit miffed as far as what to take out of this if I am NAVI.
Yeah, a trophy is what you get. Big VRS game. Not even
a big event trophy, just a trophy.
It's pretty big.
Wait, is it Liquipedia S tier? Hold on. Is it Liquipedia S tier?
I think it's A tier.
No, check. It is A tier. Okay, thank the heavens.
It is A tier.
Thank the heavens.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. Was this one? Yeah, Fissure was S tier.
Yeah, Fissure's S tier. Okay. Dude, it's so easy to be S tier. That's why I asked.
Yeah. They get a trophy, they get a bunch of ranking points. That decay, which we talked about, as much as it feels like bullshit, it feels like it's not a fair representation of where they actually were. It's still, you had to make up for that somehow. So doing it now is doing it like this, it was good for them for sure. So yeah, what did they gain? A bit. A bit of
confidence, some VRS points, and cash in
money
pocket, which is always lovely. That brings us to the runners-up, though. And for the runners-up, I decided not to be, I'm in a bit of a hyperbolic mood. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like taking things way too far right now. Is Snappi a top 5 IGL?
You lagged out. Did you say top 5?
I did. I said top 5 IGL. Is he a top 5 IGL? Quacker, here's your time to have a good take. I know it's hard for you. I know you really struggle with this, but
look again. Take. A lot of the candidates we would put up in the top 5 for IGLs right now haven't been playing recently. The best case you can make for Apex, being on this list, the last plus in the conversation for Apex in this regard, is the major win, which is a summer ago. There's not many other events, many other games where you could make a case where that speak in Apex's favor. Mongoose as well. I'm not, Mongoose, Blitz is up there. I don't think Brawlland's up there, personally. Chopper won Cologne. Hunter won a big trophy as well. If we're gonna give it to somebody, Fallen won a big trophy just now. Meyer made a playoff. Kixan, it's like. keep losing post plants. It's tricky, you know. I'll give you. I think he's top 10 for sure. There's no way you can put him outside the top 10. So if we're starting there and then going upwards, can I put 5 people above him? And I think the answer there for me personally is going to be yes, but I think he's 6th.
Wait, so what? What was your actual answer to, is he a top 5 IGL? No.
No.
Okay. Well, I gave you an opportunity. I opened the door. And as usual,
because
smacked your head in the door frame.
You have a lot of people to consider in front of him, though, is the thing. Because you have... Is Hooksy above him? Is ZTR above him? Is... Perfecto. No. Is Major above him? You have to consider like Chopper and Hunter as well. Like you have to consider where are they.
I mean, I can consider Chopper and Hunter pretty much. I can consider Hunter real quickly. Let me just. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. No,
Sin.
Done. No, done.
All right. Well, yeah. Let me. Okay. Is Apex better?
I'd say yes, even though I don't. For some reason, you decided to give him no credit for any result they've had since the major. But yes, I still think he is the #1 IGL in the world right now.
It doesn't speak in favor of him as heavily. Blitz is above him.
Oh, is he? Oh, sorry. Okay.
I'm asking you.
Yeah. So ask me. So ask me.
Is Blitz better than Snappi right now?
It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. I don't know about that one. Like,
he's playing at the highest level. The past 3 or 4 months, he's playing at the highest level he's done in his entire career.
Yeah, as in his team is making grand finals and stuff, and they won a trophy. Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'll give him an edge. I'll give him a slight edge.
Yeah. Is Brawl on?
No.
Is Chopper?
I think Snappi edges Chopper.
Okay. Hunter, you already said no. Is Fallen?
No. I think Fallen's on Chopper tier, so no.
All right. Is Major, I would assume, is a no?
No.
Kixan?
Nah, not with the way it's been going. Like, it's really not. There's always a case for Kixan. You're always like, ooh, could he have been the next great IGL? And then the rosters always get into chaos, and then now you're like watching this team playing. Nah, he needs to get a bit of a grip on that team.
Yep. Alexi B. He just beat him twice at the same event. Yeah,
has to.
Yeah.
I don't care if he beat him twice. That's completely fucking irrelevant. But in terms of how he IGL'd, yeah, I mean, Lexi B's still a Lexi B. Like,
I think we're in agreement that's past couple of months, Kerrigan has not been up there.
No. Kerrigan is not for the past couple of months, but like 6 months, he's genuinely struggled. I'm going to be honest.
Gravity. He played one event, right? He played one event.
I did one event where he lost to VP.
And beat Mongols. Like, he beat the top 5 IGLs.
It's so bullshit.
Big Uzera.
No.
ZTR.
No.
This is the one that I think is the most tricky, and it's Hooksy.
It should be tricky, right? And
yeah,
I always want to give Hooksy credit because for some reason everyone always wants to piss on him. But Snappi's my GOAT. And even though Snappi's, not been as the same caliber of event as Hooksy has this year, Snappi's done, what no one really does anymore. He made it from the gutter. He came from nothing. He was lower than crust of the earth. He was loam, and he dragged this team up into tier 1 to the point where they are now going to be attending real events. And despite still not having premier talents like a lot of other IGLs have. Now, you can argue Hooksy doesn't have premier talents in the same way either, but I still think I have Snappi over Hooksy. In terms of the Great Danes, I still think he is greater. And currently, for this moment, the better IGL.
That's probably the one I would disagree. And so far, that only puts me up to 4, which is still fine. Shui?
No. Liquid have played
No,
such
just made
bad
a great-
CS this year. I just can't have that at all.
Here's a tricky one. Who calls for Tyloo? I genuinely don't know.
Fuck. It's one of the M's. I think it's Mercury.
Yeah, probably would be.
And no.
Yes, that's a no. LNZ, recent form, I would assume no.
No. There's been. I mean, LNZ's a promising future IGL of the Year candidate, maybe on the right team eventually. For now, no, not better than Snappi, Lord.
Sin, I'm entirely skipping Perfecto. I won't entertain.
Sin is an interesting conversation to have in terms of, again, future. Could he be of the right value to a team that need an IGL change? Like maybe a fresh set of ideas, but he's not better than Snappi.
Yep. Lux.
Nope.
Whoever calls on Linvision.
That's Westmelon, and no.
Yeah. Then we're down to Snappi on the ranking. I'll just look for a couple down below here. Fear, I don't think you put above.
Lord, no. There's one other player who can have a sniff at elite IGL talk who's not currently an elite IGL, or at least above Snappi in the rankings, and that's Alex. In terms of, Alex of Gentlemates, and I don't think he's better than Snappi, no. He's a good IGL.
Yeah, no.
I still have that credit to give him. Like, I still have lots of time in my day for Alex talk, but I don't have him above Snappi.
But just to quickly rack off these names, I don't think there's any eyebrow raisers. Ins, NPL, Chrisen, Boomage, Muterus, SDY, TMB, Rals, Vinny, Jame, Alex, Nitro, and then we're way too far down. We cannot put any of those players above Snappi. You might be right. He's fourth or fifth. You might be right. I think the one guy I might put above as well, the one who is a 50-50 for me, is either Chopper or Fallen. Because they're always hard to judge.
I gave you the take. I did give you the take. I told you it's your time to have a good take.
Yeah, but like it's tough. Because I would put Hooksy above Snappi at the moment. I think the level that Astral has stepped up under Hooksy and keep staying up puts him in favor. I'm not overly biased towards Snappi, is the thing. Nor NIP. But and then it's between like Chopper Fallen, Snappi. It's almost comparing apples to oranges in a bit, so I don't know.
Snappi God. The time will come. The time will come.
Snapples to oranges.
Right. But then we kind of glossed over the actual NIP topic. They made, the upper bracket final, lost to NAVI 2-0, played the lower bracket final against Bait, took care of them 2-0, which I was kind of hoping Bait would give me a map, I'm going to be honest. I thought they'd take Dust 2 at least, but Casper Sky showed them the way out. Then they rematched NAVI, and again, just a class below. I think that's just the conclusion you kind of have right now, is that you're struggling as an IP to really have a player of tier 1 star caliber with consistency. You have maps from Wrinkle, you have maps from Casper Sky. For some reason, U-Jerks will just turn in a good performance every now and then. And Shush, was the guy we kind of thought would outperform his roles and continue to perform, but those were still, he was outperforming his roles. It was ridiculous to anticipate this would be his perpetual status. He still has the occasional series, but he's just not able to carry a game against the likes of a NAVI.
Yeah.
So I think there is a real conversation to be had about Snappi making such an incredible statement with what is a project team of players no one really is in the market for. Maybe I hear Astralis could take Shush, or Falcons could use Shush instead of Tesses, but that's about it, right? It's like, if we need a role player, they've got a good role player. There's very little hype left for Wrinkle in terms of, he struggles with consistency. He struggles against top teams to make plays without just dying instantly the second he takes one of his high bravado peaks. Casper Sky is still finding his footing, I think, in high level play. I still have a lot of expectations for him. I still think he will be a very strong player, but he's 18, on loan from an academy. Or not on loan from an academy, on loan from, because he was on NIP Academy. He went to, why am I drawing a blank? Ents, that was it, and then came back on loan. It's a very strange sort of situation. But more importantly, in the future I expect him to be more. Right now he isn't, and I can't really be expecting this NIP team to beat a NAVI right now.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. We talked about this last week as well. Judging IGLs and coaches is always so much optics as well. Because you have to think, how good do I think Snappi is based on how it looks? Results-wise, it's tricky because Mouse are staying afloat in top 4 with Brollan. Does that not mean Brollan is better than Snappi, who cannot break into tier 1 events or has a difficult time breaking into tier 1 events? You know, if you're looking at it objectively, and this is the tricky part, but then you have to look at optics and you have to look at, and then, you know, the thing is maybe like Snappi maybe just sounds more smart than you know, Brollan does. That's the tricky part. That's the tricky part, and that's what it comes down to a lot of the time. Is a lot of the time you hear, for when I'm judging stuff, it's like, I have no fucking idea what Westmelon, you know, what kind of a head he has on him tactically beyond what you can see on the server, because I don't speak Chinese, and it's not like he ever shows up in you know, an Ash video. Like there was a take on Talking Counter, I think, which is like you turn into the GOAT coach as soon as you start a YouTube channel, which is, and it's sort of similar to IGLs, I feel like, where as long as you project some of that tactical knowledge outward, you know, it's a lot of it is just how it looks. And Snappi, no matter how good he actually is, has always looked like a super clever guy. He's always like been made out to be a super clever guy. Every interview you ever hear him, he sounds like a super clever guy. He speaks very well.
Yeah, it also,
objectively speaking, that's not proof of prowess.
We also have years and years of, you know, teams defining metas on certain maps. You know, his play, like his ability to get top level results out of mid-tier talent, all of this stuff that actually factors into real IGL and coach debates has been documented and almost self-evident. But yes, if we just talk it purely as a casual, then yes. But
I'm not saying that Snappi is a bad IGL. I'm just saying there's a lot of people. There's ways to make yourself look like a better IGL than you are through optics, and Snappi has very good optics. Chopper doesn't do interviews where he talks about his tactics. He doesn't talk about it on stream. He doesn't talk about, you know, he doesn't have a YouTube channel. He doesn't talk about these things. When people demo review Spirit matches, they're obviously looking at Donk. They're not looking at, you know, how was Chopper calling this rotation, whatever, mid-round, whatever.
I mean, you
don't get that.
Implicitly watching Chopper's hand when you watch what Donk is doing. Because
right,
that is the system. Like, that is the way they play.
Right.
That is the way they organize, is around what fights they want to set up Donk for, and what fights you want to set Shiro up for. There's so much you can see in just one POV, just as a side note.
Yes. I'm just saying, Snappi has always seemed like the most clever guy, like one of the most clever guys, up there with the Kerrigan and everything. How does that compare to Lux or Westmelon based on how they look? No, not seriously saying that I think they're better. Their results don't show it. But like, if I spoke Portuguese, I might think Lux sounds like an absolute S-tier genius. How much does the fact that Blitz is really good at chess make people look at him as a genius IGL? That, like, stuff like this, it sort of, it influences you. When a lot of this stuff for most people when you're judging IGLs is how good do they look, which comes down to interviews and comes down to, like I said, if you have a YouTube channel. Like, not to say that Ash isn't one of the best coaches in the world. I think his results speak for themselves.
You need a YouTube channel to be the GOAT coach.
But
clearly a troll.
No, I don't think you do.
Let's be real.
But you obviously look better if you're showing that stuff off actively as well. If you're making your persona as a big tactics guy outwardly, obviously people are going to think you are a good tactical IGL. There's sort of, again, the same thing with, like, Robban was always known as a vibes coach. His tactical game exists. You know, we don't know what it looks like exactly. If you ask him, he would say that him and Kerrigan are on the same page, and they play the same tactical game, they have the same philosophy, roughly equal tactical style, tactical skill, and that's why they meshed so well. But Kerrigan is made out to be a genius, Robban is made out to be the, yes boys, come on! And that's because of what we can see. We don't know what's going on the side. Maybe Robban is as clever as Zonic, or maybe Zonic is as dumb as they come. Like, we don't know. We don't know what's going on there. So that's why we have to go of, like, what sort of vibe do they give off? And that, you know, Snappi has always given off a super smart vibe. Same way Ash has always given up a super smart vibe. Same way Brollan doesn't really give off a super smart vibe. He gives off, you know, more of a calling by committee vibe, which they probably do. But, like, how do you judge that? It ends up being a bias thing in the end, you know.
Snappi biased, unquestionable. Don't care. We'll always have one. Let's talk about something else in this event. Just a quick question. Are we out on PUSA, as I've now decided to call them? Passion USA, PUSA for short. Are we done with PUSA?
We can't be. They are pretty much locked in for the major. They're pretty much locked in for being locked in for being one of the 3 best North American teams in the world. So, no. I'm not locked out on them. Look, okay, to take the point seriously, this event was a disappointment for me. Yeah. I feel like they should have been top 3 here. If I'm entirely honest, they came in as the lowest ranked team, but like this is a core, which Kvem said in an interview, like, how far do you think you can go? The core has been top 5. The core is solid. You have Grim, for most of this year, has been a super solid player. You're replacing one of your weaker parts, which was 60, with Kvem, who is one of the best rifle talents we've had, hard stuck in tier 2 for the past couple of years even. JTTC, that combo is back. That combo, like, as much as I will say, it hasn't been all that great, JT wasn't that great without TC either. And they have, again, this combo has showed up in the top 5 before. So, and then Holzerk, Holzerk is here and there, but when he's good, he's good. When he's good, he's really good. So, he can do a good job. He can do a good job there. So, can they be really good? Yeah, they can. Is it kind of new? Yeah, it is. You're playing with somebody who isn't as used to speaking English. I'll say I'm not out on Passion UA, but this event was a big disappointment. I would have penned them to be in that top 3 conversation rather than Bait, and they didn't make it past Bait. They couldn't really give that much of a fight to Navi. They did beat Gentlemates, but like, again, you couldn't make it past Bait. Then what does it matter, because Bait also beat Gentlemates. So it's tricky to judge. I don't think this was a good event for them. I would have expected more.
Yeah, I'm not quite out yet, but I'm disappointed by this run, especially seeing as you beat Gentlemates the wrong way. Like, you should have beaten them a very different way for me to be happy. You needed Kvem to dominate. You needed Grim to show he can play alongside a star or rifler and also be good. That didn't happen here. That really didn't happen here. They instead, got a great performance out of Holzerk and Nix, and even JT, I think, just crazily put out some numbers. But more importantly, it was the wrong players winning them that game. The one game they win at this event. Across the rest of the series they played, we also didn't see much out of Kvem and Grim, which is alarming. Those 2 are the guys who should be set up for aggressions, taking space, making aggressive lurk plays, plucking players off bomb sites when something else is happening. You're doing that kind of thing. They just weren't able to do it with any success at all. Even set up on XX to trade in and close rounds out, just weren't successful. Those 2 are the star players of the roster. Those 2 riflers. Massively disappointed. I just think I'm not out yet. I still have that remaining hope in JT and TC reuniting. They still have solid pieces. They've upgraded a rifler. Holzerk at least has shown us good form. All of that stuff still keeps me sort of believing in Passion UA, or Passion USA, I should be saying, to make at least a dent somewhere in the coming season. As you said, they are locked into the major pretty much because of their region. But they also have Draculan Season 2 coming up, where the top competition is FlyQuest OG Ecstatic.
They should win that.
They should win that, and then there's some teams who are going to come out the group stage who are probably going to be, middling at best, and with a couple terrible Romanian sides, I think, thrown in the mix. They should be able to rack up some wins. I think just get themselves established as to what it is they are as a team, like how they're going to play as a team. They are still one of my more interesting picks as far as teams coming into the major who could turn it all around. But it's a terrible, terrible start.
Well, yeah, it's new with Kvem as well. Like, it is just one roster change. That's still going to be significant. He said in that HLTV interview that it's new for him to speak English. Occasionally there's miscommunications because he's like, what the hell did you guys just say? I've never heard anybody speak English this rapidly before. And they have the same thing, vice versa, where like, there's miscommunications because of that. That's gonna ease up over time. And like, yeah, there's every chance that they start rising just in time for the major where they are going to be. I'm not out on them. I think it's a cool project. I think it's cool that Passion in particular are doing this. I think it's really cool that Kvem in particular is the guy being here as well. That's but it is going to be, we're going to have to keep an eye on them, I think. So yeah, I give them good chance at winning that Dracula. The last Dracula, they had tougher composition, but they did also lose to Monty and 9. So how good of a chance can I really give them?
was a terrible start as well. Like, this is the second event they've played with this roster, and it's the second time I've been disappointed. I'm maintaining my faith, blindly, essentially, at this point, because there's not anything to see that will actually be there for you if you're trying to see them as a good team. But blind faith will have to remain.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Simply, that's all we can say about them. I think the Kvem activation is what we need to wait for, but it's going to come.
Right. Into the small site retakes. We're done with our big retakes. Just some small site stuff to clean up. Oh wait, no, this isn't small site. We can talk about it like it is. Who can make the major? That's a big topic, big question here. Quack, you've got the full update. Who is it that can make the major?
Breaking news, hot off the presses. This is effectively leaking, quote unquote, what Mischief, the guy who makes those cool spreadsheets with major simulations. Those simulations are really cool. He actually simulates all of the matches coming forward, and he runs like 150,000 different iterations of possible match results. It's not every possible outcome. He still weighs it for like how likely are upsets roughly, but they're really cool. It's a really cool thing. He has made another one of those, and he's talked about it in the Liquipedia Discord. So I've split this into a couple of categories. The EU race is the most interesting one. The Americas and the Asian race are not locked down, but they're pretty much locked down. So we're going to start.
Another W for Europe. Most interesting race. Let's go.
Locked in at the moment, absolutely mogging on the opposition, is Liquid. They basically locked their major spot in. I think by the last count he showed us, they have like a 0.001% chance of not making the major at this point. And look, it's not really worth talking that much about it. What is interesting though is they still have a transfer going on. And let me tell you about the interpretation problem of the rules that has been on my mind recently, which is always funny. Liquid have a transfer coming. Whoever they're signing, we don't know yet. Let's just, for the sake of argument, let's just say it's a leash, just because it makes it easier to talk about, and that's what people think. Let's say that a leash comes in. They have 2 more events to play. They're both small open lands. It is the Birch Cup, which is coming up now at the end of September in Poland, and it is Philadelphia Blocktober, which is coming up just at the start of October. At those open lands, the first one is Birch Cup. They come in as like an invite. I'm pretty sure all of their games are going to be covered, but it's a single elimination. I think it's a single elimination bracket there, where it's double elimination. Where if the TLDR is basically, if they don't play 5 games with their new player, Twists will still be listed as a main roster Liquid player when the major invites go out. FaZe are already guaranteed not to have Twists on their main roster when the invites go out. They, no matter what happens, they aren't playing anything before the cutoff with Twists, which would mean that they, could have him on the main roster. They need to register him as a substitute. You cannot register a substitute who is part of another team's major roster. And this I had confirmed by Messi also when we were talking about this. Teams have tried this many times before. They always get a no. So if Twists is still on the main roster of Liquid, on the main 5, not just the core, the 5, when the invites go out, FaZe cannot play the major with Twists. Was my assumption. All right? That was my assumption. And what they need to do then is, it's entirely in Liquid's hands. They need to play 5 games at Birch Cup 5 ranked games at Birch Cup and Philadelphia, which they should do as one of the better ranked teams at both events. By no means a guarantee. All right. So what I thought was going to happen is that Twists cannot play with FaZe in the major. But then when we talked about this, Mischief came with another thing, which is that the major invites go out in order. All right. They send the stage 3 invites and they register the roster and then it's done. Then they send the stage 2 invites. Because in theory, it's not guaranteed that everybody who gets a stage 3 invite for the major is going to accept it. In theory, somebody could say no to going to the major. So they do the stage 1 invites. They confirm all the roster, substitute coaches, everything. Then they go to stage 2. Then they go to stage 3. FaZe are probably going to be a stage above Liquid. And the tricky thing then, right, is that FaZe get the stage 2 invite. They confirm the roster. They register Twists as a substitute. Then Liquid get an invite. And they, by the letter of the law, if that's the interpretation you're going for, if that's what you think is going to happen, is that Liquid cannot accept the major invite because they cannot accept the invite with Twists on the main roster. So in that event, Liquid cannot accept the major invite and they get locked out of the major. That's a possibility, depending on what Valve decide to do with these rules. It makes no sense. And I keep thinking, like, what would have happened if, let's just say, 3D Max bought Kersey, all right? If that was the move. We're glad that's not happening, but let's say that happened. We would have the same situation, except Gamer Legion have nothing else to play. So then it definitely would have been an issue. Liquid are still like, you can make the case like, okay, if they don't do well at Birch or Philadelphia, if they go out early, they lose enough points where they miss the major. Possible, I think. I think they're more or less locked into the major, but like, it's possible. It's a mess. It's a realistic possibility because Valve haven't clarified what happens if a player is on 2 rosters at the same time. So it's a realistic possibility that Liquid get locked out of the major if they do poorly at Birch or Philadelphia. Anyway, that's a headache I've been thinking about recently. But here are the numbers for you. So also locked in, they weren't really confirmed before. They have according to Finn, a 98% chance of making it into the major. It's Gamer Legion, but they've had like 98% for a couple of weeks now. It's looking solid for them. The biggest movers for the ones who are the ones who are now locked out after the recent events are more or less, it's going to be OG, it's going to be Perivision, it's going to be Ecstatic. They can't really do anything here. Perivision lost out big time by being knocked out by Gentlemates quite early on in the star ladder. If they needed a better performance there to actually make it into the major. So they are out. OG as well, bombed out last place. They also needed to be better. I think the only way they can go through is if they win Dracula and if they win the Riga thing and if they win the whatever else they have. I think they have Philadelphia. So OG are locked out. Ecstatic technically have a bigger chance than OG, but again, they're gonna have to do really well on in those final few lands. So those teams are all locked out. So we have a couple more spots up for grabs, and these are the teams who are looking good. The ones who are looking bad is Fnatic and Gentlemates. Fnatic tanked 2 huge online losses recently against Alliance and ESC, and they fucked them up. They dropped from like 60% chance of making the major to 25 in those 2 games almost alone. Heroic are looking pretty bad after going 0-3 here. They're still inside. They still have a 55.9%, and which is one of the higher chances of making the major. But they need to do pretty well at ESL Pro League to make it in. And they have dropped off from like 85-90% chance of making it down to 55 in the past couple of games. Also looking quite bad, Gentlemates, despite doing quite well at Star Ladder, they are down to like a 12%. It's not going to be enough. It's not looking that good. The people who are looking pretty good are, sadly, Virtus Pro have upped their chances to a 64% of making it in. It looked like they were going to be out. They went 0-2, then they went 2-3 in Fissure, and that was enough to. They're not locked in. At first I put them in the locked in portion, but there's things that could change still. But it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky to put them out of it. NIP massively upgraded 86%. I would say they're in the major, but it's technically not guaranteed. They're also playing a bunch of these smaller lands where they run a big risk of losing more than they win at like Philadelphia and stuff, but they're still going to play them. Saw and Betboom are looking decent just through not doing anything. Like Saw's chances have increased, but as far as I've seen, they haven't even played anything in the past week or two that is of note. So they're still inside the major at the moment. And Betboom are technically outside, but they have Land the Land coming up, where Perry Vision is their closest opposition. I think if they win that, they have a good chance of making it, like displacing Saw and making it in. And I didn't put them in the list here. Bait are also looking okay, but they still need a little bit more just to get over the line. So they're not done yet. And that's the European race. So the way it's looking, Liquid, Game Legion, NIP, Virtus Pro, Heroic, and Saw are going to be in the major. But Betboom and Bait are the primary candidates fighting for those final 2 spots for Heroic and Saw. That's how it's looking. Americas, it's pretty much locked in. The bottom 3 spots are the ones that are up for discussion. MIBR, 9Z, and Bestia are looking good. Skin, Rave, Wildcard, and Fluxo are looking pretty bad. LAN events are going to have to make the difference there for them. And in the Asian race, aside from Mongoose and Tyloo, who are pretty much locked in, Linvision, FlyQuest, and Huns are looking pretty good. Rare Atom and Chinggis Warriors are literally the only contenders for that final spot. And yes, Axel, BC Game have been out, and they have been out for a long time. They have basically never had a shot at the major this season. That's about it. This was a long rant, but I think this is super interesting. Mischief put his stuff out. I can't link in the chat, I think it's deleted, but Mischief CS2 is where the full spreadsheet is, where you can see exactly where your favorite team is likely to place.
Yeah, and where your least favorite team is likely to place, which unfortunately for us currently means
is in the major.
VP is in the major.
Yeah, and Liquid. I didn't want any of them to make it, but yeah.
It's a sad, sad day. It really is. But
it really is. Darkest possible timeline.
Let us move on to something that is also apparently a dark, twisted, scary problem. Someone call Ricardo Luis. There might be some conflict of interest afoot. Falcons Academy, what's going on? Quack, make me scared.
I'll try to be brief on this one. It is a conflict of interest, potentially, between NATO Safix, the coach of Falcons Force, the Academy, and the players and their agency. The conflict of interest here is that Falcons Force was recently announced, with the 5 players you have never heard of: Olei, Vino, Greku, Cloxy, and Nucleon. Falcons Force, obviously coached by NATO Safix. I don't think anybody's missed that. They are the ones who, he's the one who's coaching the team. He had lengthy tryouts, and according to a new report by at least friend of me, I don't know if I want to say friend of the show, maybe you dislike him a lot, but no, Puffin, the independent reporter, had a big article out on this. I know that HLTV have been looking into it as well, so it is pretty legit. Luis Mira is looking into it, but Puffin managed to get it out first. The issue is that NATO Safix is the coach of this Falcons Force team, and he is also a part owner in the NAVI Pro agency, which he's also part of, represented by, but he's also a part owner of that agency. 4 out of the 5 players picked up for this Falcons Force team, which he picked out of tryouts of about 70 players, were very shortly before or after the tryout also signed to the NAVI Pro agency, which means that NATO Safix, in a bit of a roundabout way, gets a cut of their salary. Like, there's a financial benefit for him signing NAVI Pro players. And that's a conflict of interest. He owns the agency representing the players that he picked out of the tryouts. And that is the big conflict of interest. It also happens to be like very close proximity as well, where he sent the trial invites out July 29th. The tryouts started between the 4th and 5th August. 2 of the players he picked up were picked up on the 5th and 8th of August for NAVI Pro agency. Like, they were announced then. They probably signed the contract a couple of days earlier. Another one early September, and another one just, at the end of July. So it looks like he's either picked up talents for the agency that he knew he was going to pick for Falcons Force, or he has picked his own agency's players for the Falcons Force Academy team, which he has a financial incentive to do. And that's the alleged potential conflict of interest. It is, or actually, honestly, no, it is a conflict of interest. He's picked up his own players for an academy team. That is the conflict of interest. The alleged part is that he has done it knowingly. So yeah, this was a thing, and it's a thing that has happened, and it's interesting, and yeah, sucks.
So my first instinct when I saw you talking about this story is that, yeah, it is conflict of interest, objectively, just outright is what it is.
Yeah.
But who does it impact? As in, the person who loses out here, who gets screwed by the conflict of interest, is potentially Falcons, because their coach for their academy project is prioritizing signing players on his agency, or could be because he works for a player agency, and therefore isn't giving them necessarily the best team on merit. I don't think anyone's going to give a shit, because it's Falcons. Is the one problem I have. Like, I don't think anyone's going to care.
The thing is, well, it's worth caring about. It is a conflict of interest. And it's also, people are going to care because it's just scummy as well. Because the agency obviously takes a cut of the salary, which is, I would assume for this academy team as well, pretty hefty, considering at least one of these players I think is 14. Like, probably the best paid teenagers outside of Tier 1 CS at the moment in the Counter-Strike scene, 100%. The agency takes a cut of that salary, 5 to 15% usually. And NATO Safix and the other owners of this agency have basically said, let me get a little bit more of that bag, aside from the bag I'm already getting from Falcons for making this academy team. It's a little bit scummy. And look, he's probably biased towards the players that are picked up for NAVI Pro. It is also a tricky thing with, like, if they sign them to the agency after signing for the team, did he pick out the best talents and then basically lock them up for an agency, knowing that they would get a huge ass salary on Falcons? Or did he do the vice versa, where, like, he had the tryouts, noticed that there were a handful of NAVI Pro players in the tryouts, and just picked them without being fair to the other players? Because this is 70 players we're talking about, and it's who actually got the invites to be in the tryout. It's a little bit fishy, especially if he's picked up the players for the agents. I say he. NAVI Pro is obviously a bunch of other people as well, but NATO is a co-owner. If he's picked up players knowing that they would get signed to the Falcons team that he is picking out, so that the agency get more salary money, that is a bit scummy. It all feels a little bit scummy. Who gets screwed over? I mean, look, the players don't get any more screwed over than they would have signing for probably any other agency. The other players in the tryout get screwed over because they might have been, not favored because they weren't signed, to the NAVI Pro agency. It's a weird situation. It is a problem. And there's, again, supposedly HLTV are looking at it as well. There's probably going to be more context there. But what we know right now is just that it's a pretty clear conflict of interest. And there might be even more scummy stuff happening. Who knows? Stay tuned.
So the very base problem here is being a coach whilst also having an vested interest, rather, just no need for the in any kind of agency, is that you immediately are going to run into conflicts, without even needing to be signing these players. Let's say there's a player who is in your agency that you co-own and run, who's also negotiating his salary with the team you coach. It's just at the base level a problem. So, no, the problem was always there. as long as he's a coach and who works with a player agency, there's a problem.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm not so bothered by this one, I'm struggling to care as much, right, is because we're talking about kids who had no representation, had no real team, getting signed for an academy, and then at the same time basically ending up in the guy who runs the academy's agency. Like, it can be an innocuous, genuine helping hand to have them in both.
Yeah.
I just think it's dumb for a coach to be in a player agency. That's just not where you should be.
Yeah. And the conflict is also like, let's say it's the case where he's picked out the 5 best talents he can find, and he realizes that 4 of them are not connected to any agency. Before he announces the roster as part of Falcons, he signs them on to the NAVI Pro agency. That is also a bit of a conflict in that case, because he had the scoop on who they were going to be. As he turns them into academy prospects, maybe other agencies would have been better off. Maybe the players themselves would have been better off signing for another agency. Maybe they wanted to have a look around. Don't really get that opportunity because they just get the contract. The other agencies don't even know they exist. That's like a tricky thing. Not necessarily like a scummy thing legally or like commercially like that, but it's just a little bit scummy towards the players who maybe could hurt their careers. Genuinely, I feel like a lot of people have just said that this is a silly amount of bag grabbing, where like you already take a big load of cash coaching Falcons academy team. You then want to get a little bit extra by just chipping off of the salaries of these players to help the agency that you co-own and or have a financial interest in. It's dumb just to be like you said, just having that agency while doing the same. And I know other people who have worked in agency, like with player agencies like this, who specifically quit everything else because of the risk of conflict of interest. Puffin himself worked for a while as like with the player agency, which I think he recently quit and he's back to writing now. He completely quit everything journalistic, everything writing, everything like that, because he knew it was such a big potential conflict of interest to sit on newsworthy information and working for a player agency at the same time. Even at that level, he had the integrity to just quit everything else. And NATO just sort of hasn't. It's what feels weird to me.
Yeah, we'll see what comes of it in the long run, but for now it's a problem. Just not one of the most serious iterations. It shouldn't be a thing, but we're not going to lose out on much as viewers and followers, I think, is kind of my conclusion. Like, there might be a case to make that if these players were already in the agency and then he just signed them for the academy, that people who got tryouts weren't given a fair shake.
Yep.
But if he signed them for his agency, he already thought they were better anyway. So, the case isn't that great.
The report doesn't mention this, but I think there was also an issue with Falcons knowingly scheduling their tryouts at the same time as another team. I saw talk about that. Which again, if they've then, screwed over the actual selection and the integrity of the actual selection by favoring their own players, like their own agency's players, they've also screwed over everybody else participating in that tryout over the other tryout because they didn't have a chance in the first place. So yeah, it's a weird situation. It's worth reading about. Puffin27.substack.com is his page. He's good at what he does. If you're interested, you should read it. Legal trouble is always fun.
Yeah, we do like Puffin. Definitely a friend of the show, and not just you like him and I hate him. I don't know where that implication could ever come from.
No, I just like, I always say friend of the show, but like, I don't know. I don't want to speak for you.
Yes, I do respect Puffin's work. I like him. I've tried to help him with stories before, like point him to people who might have something juicy.
Yeah.
Cool dude, does decent work. Yeah, hopefully he can keep on doing more and more. But all right, we get into everyone's new favorite segment, the segment that has an intro, the only segment on the entire show that has an intro, for no good reason. It is, of course, time for Cock of the Week. We've got a special one this week, don't we?
Yes, it is. You've already seen this one. I don't need to point anything out. I don't even have to say you said it. Boring games lately. Waiting for a real opponent to humble me. Dash. Alexander Simple Kosteliev, or whatever his name is. Yeah, he said that after winning a lot of matches. in Tier 2. I'm going to check exactly how many he won. Because I think they had a big win streak, yeah. A lot of games in a row. Beating Sashi, beating OG, beating ESC, beating Amcal. Before that, they beat OG again. Spirit Academy, ENCE. They keep winning these games. Bam, bam, bam. Guess who steps up to the plate a day after that tweet is posted? It's a little team I like to call Alliance, because that's their name. And they dumpster them. Simple didn't have anything to do in this game. And it just looked so funny seeing, with that, how he does that post, and then watching that game where Alliance were running circles around BC Game, where Simple was doing fuck all. You got put in so many clutch situations, like 1-on-3, every other round you were hearing Simple in a 1-on-3 attempt, and of course he doesn't win them, because how many 1-on-3s can you really win on T-side Inferno? And
all of them. All of them. He should win all of them. If he actually was the GOAT ever, he should have won all of them. It's his Alliance. Truly embarrassing. But no, yeah, this was a terrible, terrible tweet to tweet. Like, why would you say that? Why would you say that? Why would you tempt the gods? And they, of course, immediately smacked him across the face. They had been really playing well. They've been on a great run. And now today they're playing Ruby, and they're down a map. And 11-6 down map 2, and Simple is not playing great. So maybe the karmic justice continues, but they've been on a magnificent streak, BC Game. They'd beaten Sashi, OG, ESC, Amcal all in a row after losses to OG and Betboom. They'd been on a pretty good run. Simple, of course, putting up stupid numbers. Like, literally impossible. And this is something that always amused me, and I'm always going to bring up, is when people act as though playing in Tier 2 is just you are playing bots that you get to just kill for free, and that if you're not putting up good numbers in Tier 2, you must be shit. I always ask them to go look, just look, year in, year out, who actually is able to put up a 130 rating against Tier 2. No one does. Yeah. Just no one does. So the fact that he did, or has been, on BC Game for the last, what is it? It's about a month and a half? A month and 10 days. Month and 10 days, he's been averaging a 130 rating, playing Tier 2 competition, is outstanding. Now, taken a bit of a dip recently, but that's to be expected, and that's something I've always had to talk about whenever I pick a prospect, or I talk about a player being potentially the next great thing, and then immediately the next day, someone sends me a screenshot of them having a .92 rated game against fucking Fish123 or whatever the hell else, and I'm like, have you tried playing officials every day? I mean, have you seen your own matchmaking games, bro? Like, you are shit in 40% of them. Like, you shit the bed, and then you're like, oh, I've played 6 in a row, I should stop. And now imagine that's your life, professional life. You are going to have rough events, rough maps when you're playing this kind of Tier 2 grind. It is a disappointing thing to see, and they're about to get 2-0'd by Ruby, Jesus Christ. But BC Game, it was a great run, and as soon as he tempted the gods, the Tier 2 realities caught up with him. He probably assumed he could keep farming endlessly, playing an infinite number of maps. It was never going to last. Take the L and hold it, but it was a nice run while it lasted.
Take the L and come back. It's gonna be fine. I don't have any worries. They still have a chance of winning the event. If they win today against the ESC, they have a chance for revenge tomorrow against Alliance. But it is silly to post that sort of stuff. It is. I get that he sort of has the aura of dumpstering. The GOAT is dumpstering Tier 2. Yeah. Don't get cocky. Noobs. Don't get cocky with it. Never do that.
He's in the lower bracket final of the Challenger League Cup. That's what's coming up with the ESC game. And yeah, there'll be a revenge game with Alliance. But first, you've got to beat ESC. And they're playing 2 best-of-3s today, the first of which they've already lost. So it's just a rough thing to be a part of. The Tier 2 grind. You just cannot take a breather. And inevitably, it's going to lead to inconsistencies. We'll see what comes next for this BC Games squad, because we've heard talk about them making all the signings, all these changes, and we've heard talk about Simple potentially going to a different team, but we've had the confirmation that he's not, blah 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 blah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
For now, we can just say that for sure BC Game have a god on their side who is going to carry them if they ever give him the right kind of team.
I'm not going to say what this is. I might have a chance to get some information soon with regard to Simple and BC Game.
Leak it.
No. There is nothing to leak right now. But just saying that, if you have something you're wondering about Simple and BC Game, or BC Game, put it in the Kingt Discord, and I might use it. That's
okay. Weirdest Discord plug of 2025, but yeah. There's the Discord link if you want to join it, by the way. And make sure your YouTube's connected if you're a member, because then you get the member perks. But yeah. There's the Discord in the chat. Let's move on to everyone's favorite segment, because every segment is everyone's favorite segment. The Retake Games. Thank you very much for the horns there. But yes, we're into the Retake Games. Quack last week embarrassed himself with one of the worst judgment calls ever witnessed by a man.
Entirely fair.
Everyone who's commented on it has agreed. Valid crash out. Completely ridiculous and absurd decision you made. This week, what have you got for me?
I haven't got the same. This is a new game. It's similar to the other one. I don't know if you've ever seen a board game called Wavelength, I think it's called.
It's the one with the spinny thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're sort of going to play that. We're going to play one round of that. We can play two because I'll just give you a test round. I'm going to pick a number between 1 and 20. I won't tell you or the audience what it is.
120?
I have 1 and 20. I won't tell you what it is. I have actually already picked it. But for a test run, all right, you get 4 questions. You ask whatever you want. Ideally something which is like a spectrum. All right, you might say something basically as good player. And if I'm high on the scale of 20, I might say Donk. If I'm low on the scale, I might say Chris 2. And you get 4 of those attempts to sort of dial in. Where am I? 1 through 20. I'm just, for the sake of argument, I'm going to say that if you get it exactly right, you get 3 points. If you miss by 1, you still get a point. So there's some error bars here as well. Because obviously, like, a 14 or a 13 is going to be difficult. So just for a test run, all right? Just give me a question. Give me a question. Just for a test run.
Okay, rifling ability.
Donk.
Okay, so I can just say it's 20, right?
Yep, yeah, so that's a test run. It's going to be a bit more difficult. And I'm basically going to have to go for it. So you get 4 attempts.
Off your judgment, which is always difficult. Okay.
Well, it's the same as the other game. It's just the roles are flipped. Because, yeah, I picked a number rather than something which you need to dial in.
Oh, God. Welcome to the esoteric and often confusing world of Quack's judgment. Right. Okay. We'll start with the same questions. I think this is a great question to open up on. Rifling ability.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, I have to think briefly about this. I should have been ready for that, to be honest. I'll give you, like, maybe a Raiko. I think a Raiko.
Okay, so we're in probably the mid-teens, I'd say. We're probably in the 14 to 16 range. I don't know how generous Quack wants to be. Could go as low as 12, given that Quack is maybe not as dialed into the Reiko POVs, but I think 14 to 16 is probably around the correct sort of range.
That's one question.
Reiko is there.
A fun thing is also, like, I hear your reasoning with what you think, where you think we are. If you are like massively off base, I might dial my answer to push in the right direction. Right?
Yeah, I get the idea. I've seen the.
So it could be. Yeah.
Okay. Major win chances.
Upcoming major.
Yeah, this major, this coming, but Budapest.
Budapest alone, all right.
Yeah, just Budapest.
Or Falcons. I'll give you Falcons.
Falcons. So again, we're not talking 20. We're not talking probably even 19, 18, or 17. It's the problem is we just had this whole conversation. I have like Falcons in my like 7-8 slot in terms of where I have them in the world, like their position. And so for me, where does the 7th or 8th best team in the world like have their odds to win the major? It's typically not great. Now it's above average. Yeah. It's above average, like the average team, but it's not still like talking favorites. So it's probably lower than I'm edging down a bit. Probably 13, 14 is now what I'm currently like stuck on, like that sort of range. Maybe down as far as 12 as well. Again, which I said was an option, given maybe Quack's take on Reiko. Maybe that's roughly where he has him, for whatever, again, esoteric reason. So I think that's the right sort of place to be. This is difficult to find a category that actually helps me at all.
Yeah.
Okay, there's probably some help here. AWPing ability.
Right. Okay. This one I feel like I need to go to the stats sheet a bit.
No eye test.
Just for inspiration, otherwise I might forget somebody. AWPing ability.
Yes.
Jame.
Jame's pretty fucking good. Again, we're far from the 20 mark. I'm torn between 13 and 14 at this point. Like, roughly is where I'm thinking. So I feel like 12 might be too low, too close to average. The odds of winning the major for Falcons probably don't feel like a 15 and above. Reiko's within tolerance of that range as well. I think 13, 14 is kind of where I'm stuck. Okay.
You have one more.
I know, I'm trying to think of what's the best way to narrow it down between like those two numbers, which is just, it's like, if I got French homework is graded out of 20. If I get a 13 or a 14, I'm as happy with either one as I am. Like, I got a 13 or a 14, like whatever, dude, like who cares? Like 14 v 13, not that deep. We're talking about potentially though, in terms of a grading, 70 versus 65%, which is like, that's borderline pass-fail sometimes on certain exams. So maybe if we approach from that point of view, give like who's just about failing versus just about passing. Who do I want to hear from? Okay. ESL Pro League Stage 1. Right. Progression odds.
Progression odds. Okay.
Yeah.
Progression odds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not just ranking straight up. I have to be a little bit more.
Yeah, you got to feel it out.
Finicky there. That's hard. Astralis.
Okay, I'm going to lock in my answer.
Yeah.
It's 14.
Correct!
Let's go. Because I knew if you said Gamer Legion, I was like 13. But if you said Astralis, I was like 14. That's where I had.
I had that flipped. I think Gamer Legion do work in the Astralis are more like they have a lower floor, I think. But you got it. I think Reiko was a perfect pick for rifling ability for 14.
Yeah, I mean, 14 was of my realistic, like what I rate him as. My range was 14 to 16. I was like, I could see all of those being tolerable within what you consider Reiko to be. But I had to factor in maybe you don't watch him. Maybe you think he could be as low as a 12. So I was like, let's
you are correct that You are correct that I do not watch Reiko, but you also know I trust your judgment of Reiko implicitly because you have talked about him for years. So I know that's where you have him, and that's why I put him in there. Falcons for 14. It's like, if I had to pick the top 20 teams most likely to win the major, Falcons probably still end up at like a 5% chance is the thing, or maybe even less. But they are probably still there at a 6, 7, 8, which is around the 14 mark.
Yeah,
I was torn between them.
Most teams have a way worse of an odds than that to make a major win happen.
I was torn between them, Furia, and Aurora, but Furia are a bit too fresh, and Aurora, they are there at like the 7th best team in the world level. But I don't think I think they have much less of a chance to win the major itself. So that was difficult. But yeah,
no,
I like that game. That was good. You have 3 season points.
Yeah, sure. We don't really keep track of that shit.
We do not.
Right, so I need to make sure my grades game has actually been set up properly. Oh, it has. It has. Okay, good. I'm shocked. I'm genuinely shocked because I tend to leave stuff lying around that I shouldn't all the time. But yeah, we're going to be doing the grades game for the first time in a long time. Yeah. Some difficult grades to place, so they're now on screen, on stream. And it's difficult to place these exactly. And remember, we've had the conversation about what the roles mean, as far as, you know, which player's the entry versus a closer. On some teams, it's not as clear. I've told you the stats I use to make those determinations. So try and use those if you're confused on a specific team. But yeah, we have an IGL who's a C, an AWPer an A-. The entry's an A-. The closer's an A, and the support is a B. So you got all 3 lifelines. Start thinking through it, taking a look at those ratings. Who do you like for this?
Closer is the best player, but the AWPer and entry are just slightly below. IGL, the worst player. Okay. So I could say Mouse, but I think you would put Torji higher than A-, if I'm honest. I think you'd put him as an A flat. Equal to Spinks, the closer. Otherwise, it actually lines up pretty much perfectly. I do think you have Brollan as a C tier IGL. I think, yeah. Falcons, I don't think. I did just see the chat. I don't think Falcons, because Kyusuke would not be an A-. Zershin, you could have Zershin as A-. It's mostly the fact that the AWPer and the entry is the same grade, more so than it is an A- specifically, which makes me feel like it might be Torji and Zershin. And then Yimpat being a bit below at B tier. Yeah, it makes sense. Spinks a bit above. Yeah, it makes sense. IGL is weak. I only get the one guess, so I can't just go for Mouse. I kind of want to go for it. But okay, who else could it be?
That's why you have lifelines, remember.
Yeah. Let me just go through a couple of options, because otherwise the lifeline won't give me anything. Aurora probably have... You could put Meyer in C tier. But the Xantares would not be... He would be the entry, and he would not be worse than anybody else on the team. Surely not. Can't be Rops, who is the closer there, because he would be better. Blitz, you don't think Blitz is worse than Techno, so it's not Mongos. FaZe is not the worst job. But again, do you think... that's difficult, because where the hell do you put Jacob here?
I've told you to check the stats in terms of who'd be entry versus support out of Jacob and Rain. I've told you what stats to look up. Like,
yeah, but I don't think you have. Jacob would have to be either A-, A, or B, and I don't think you have him on that. I think you have him on a C. Is the thing. So like, it doesn't. Could you even, you know? And Brokey A-? You don't think Brokey is an A- right now? Wait, Jose. Frozen would be your closer, obviously. And he could be an A. Yeah. He could be an A. I don't know if A+ is one you even use here. I can't remember.
I use A+. Did I use S tier? Because I think I did like a Spirit one at one point.
Yeah, you do.
I went
you
S
do
tier on Donk. So yeah, I go up to S tier. And A+ is definitely something I do, yeah.
No, but then Xantares would definitely have been an S tier player. Tricky. Tricky. I don't think Falcons Kyusuke would probably be A+ or S tier. It wouldn't be A- in any case. Navi? No, IGL. No, we've already said Alexi V is a top level IGL. 3D Max would have been on your mind a lot this week. Maybe it's 3D Max. IGLC, Gravity. Yeah, checks out. Opper A- Maka. Maybe a tad too high. Give me a flag. If this is a Europe flag, I'll be so mad. But give me a flag.
Tell me which position.
Probably the IGL spot's going to give the most clues.
Okay. Use the Lifeline flag. The IGL's flag. I'm just going to send it to you, like a picture of it. And then you can use your geography skills to tell me which flag this is. Okay?
I know every flag. Give it to me.
Of course you do. Czech flag.
That's Macedonia. This is Sassanito. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Sassanito is not calling. Sassanito is not calling. Neither is Stressarn. It's Falcons. You picked Falcons. I just had to check. I had every base covered. Am I missing a Macedonian in-game leader? It's Falcons.
So yeah, I do genuinely think over the last sort of 3 months, I think the best player on that team has been Nico. I've had him just like edging out those two who've been, consistency woes. I still believe in them. I have them both A-, Monacy and Kyosuke, but like, yeah, it's just they've just not been on the level. And I think Nico's been fantastic. Support B. Look, maybe C is harsh for specifically Kiksan, but it does feel like there's like no control over what the team does in a lot of rounds. Like there's just mess to the point where I have to dock him some points. Again, C felt a bit harsh when I looked at it. As soon as I brought it up again, I was like, ooh, what was I thinking before my coffee this morning? Maybe that's a bit harsh. Maybe B- would have been a bit more in line. But let's be violently reactive to what I've seen recently.
Yeah, I mean, Tessus could have been a B+ or even an A-, and I wouldn't have been mad. I
kind of would have been, but that's fine.
But yeah, I'm wondering. I'm just briefly wondering.
I just forget I need to hide the cock when I go back to the main page that we use because it just always pops up again. But all right. Those are the retake games. Let's get into
that was a good one.
The ever returning sort of segment, the one that never ends, the eternal shuffle. It's always going to be a part of this show as long as everyone's still making moves, and no one seems destined to stop. So, what's been happening, Quack?
Today it's going to end quite quickly. We only have 4 moves, and I don't think we've had any rumors or anything. Yeah. Did I miss any obvious tier 1 rumor or something? But I'm so sure I didn't. I'm
sure chat will mention them, and then I'm sure we'll go, no, we did that last week, so go.
Yeah. GL is already one we've done. Literally, the most notable one is 6 as a new team, and it's Marsborn. He joins as the in-game leader in place of Motum.
Yeah, this is an N for nobody, so I don't care.
Look, Marsborn are the next... They are probably the best North American team who have no chance of doing anything, which is an award I'll give them.
Best NA team with a chance to do nothing, yeah.
Yes, out of all the NA teams who actually are worth, thinking about because they might make it to tier 1 events or something. There's Wildcard, Energy, MAT, and Passion UA. And then, Marsborn. Marsborn are probably the best out of the rest. So, yeah, solid. Shout out Wolfie. Good guy. Good luck, 60. You have a new team. And he's calling. Like, the calling aspect, I think, is a little bit interesting. But
so weird. Yeah.
Big Academy have added Maze and Jay Bowen, and I added this move only for you because otherwise I couldn't give a fuck about this team.
Yo, what up, Jay Big J Bone? Oh yeah, big dog. Yeah, so we are all J Bone fans. We are all having our J Boners up. He is one of the more talented Danish AWPers I've been forced to watch over the last sort of 6 months. Pretty good. Yeah, J Boners in chat. Let's go. He's he's a talented little player. So I can't wait to watch him on this big academy side. Maze, I don't have too many thoughts on. I'm not even sure what his role was on Vault, but 24 years old, he better be the IGL. So, no, I'm curious to see what they do with Zonic and Widow, who've not been great, but QB, 7 maps, decent rating, add a little more talent around him. Let's see if we can make this work.
Yep. So the full lineup is Maze, QB, J-Bone, Sonic, and Widow.
Please call him by his official title, which is J-Bone. He is a frat boy in our, sort of universe. He's J-Bone, not J-Bone.
He could fit the bill looks-wise, to be honest.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. He looks like he's benched once, maybe. Yeah. For a Counter-Strike player. Fucking hench.
Yeah. Solid. Copenhagen Wolves have cut Jorko, who is going to have to go Jorko somewhere else because he doesn't have a visa, so he couldn't Jorko in the US. And that's a problem because they need to go to Philadelphia and stuff. So
yeah, it's a shame. It really is. I mean, he's honestly I wasn't a big Jorko guy. I mean, I thought that era of Mouse NXT was more of just
you have a girlfriend.
Like a Rick and Morty sketch, that Jorko, Blick, Bonko, and whatever the fuck else the team was. It's
I've been rewatching Star Wars recently, and we recently got to the sequel trilogy, and the term that's been really stuck in my head is glorpo shito, which is the term fans made up for a random ass alien character. That's what it feels like. Jorko, Blick, Bonko, Binky Bonko. He's glorpo shito, yeah.
It's just a silly name, but it's funny. And he was playing pretty well on Copenhagen Wolves, who desperately needed someone to play well. Yep. And so that was great to see, but yeah, now he's just kind of fucked because of his visa problems. He's still 16, a long way to go. Very interesting player to me.
They did say, I think he or they said that the visa was gonna be secured pretty soon. It's just that they can't do it in time for Philadelphia. I think he said that it was gonna be a couple of months. So yeah, the US visa issue will be permanently fixed in a few months. So he can't play Philadelphia, he can't play all of that, which they're going to play.
He's married an American man.
Copenhagen Wolves are based out of New Jersey, man. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but they are the New Jersey Flames. Or Wolves, sorry. What? I can't.
New Jersey Flames is a very different organization, I'll have you know. Way more fabulous.
Right. And finally, Nexus have added FNL, who is
a long list today.
Yeah. Yep, long list. FNL is now on Nexus together with who? BTN, Xello, Blitz, Sound, and FNL. So once again, Nexus have put together the best Romanian talents that don't include Imme or Regali, and are hoping to do something.
Yeah, I mean, Lonex was on the team. He's moved on to greener pastures, I guess. And so FNL's come in to fill that void. First, it was he wasn't official, so now he's official. He's only played 2 maps, but he's played more than that for this team since Lonex left. Yep. Yeah, they're a pretty solid team. FNL's not a terrible player. I've liked things I've seen from him. So, no, I'm curious to see what he does.
Yep. I can add this. Ramzin was announced as part of a Call of Duty squad, which was really funny. Ramzin just randomly, the first tweet ever posted by some random Call of Duty team was a roster announcement for the London Royal Ravens is the team, and their roster for Season 3 in the Call of Duty's Women's League included Ramzin and a picture of Ramzin, the Nemesis player, Danish, previously of NIP. Really funny.
Yeah, that's strange. I mean, you did miss a pretty big roster move here, just because it's making me laugh just reading it. Blackie has been benched.
All right.
Why is that his nickname?
Apparently Ramsey wasn't the only player from another game being announced as a Call of Duty player. Thea was part of the same roster, and she's apparently a Valorant pro for FlyQuest. So Really funny. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
No shuffles this week.
That's the shuffle. Only 4 shuffles. So not an empty shuffle. The eternal shuffle still going, but not quite as dramatic as it usually is. That brings us into the final segment of the show.
Yeah.
The segment that everyone's favorite segment, really. Prospect of the week. Quack, surprise us. Which Swede have you picked this week?
Poi. Mentioned as one of the 50 best talents in the world according to HLTV. One of the 50 best upcoming talents in the world according to HLTV earlier last week, I think. Keeps impressing for Alliance. That's about all I can say. 13 maps this past week, 125. Not much more to say. I thought it was actually really impressive against PC Game yesterday as well. The stats don't show it, and look, Ovid was one of the bigger guys. Twist was one of the bigger guys. Basically, everybody except for Poi showed up in that game. But Poi, he finds impact in a lot of these rounds, which is really important, and it's really good, and he finds it in a really solid way, and he is genuinely looking so good right now for Alliance and for Sweden and for probably the best form he's ever had in his entire career right now, considering the level of play he's at and where the level he's playing at as well. So the level he's showing up. So yeah, somebody who's moving into tier 1 in 2026, very possibly at this point. So let's see.
Fingers crossed for Sweden. It's with a Swedish team. Probably never going to happen, but still. Would be lovely. But anyway, my prospect is one who has played still basically no maps against real teams. Gonna be honest. He's played 2 series for his new roster that he's on loan to, and neither one of those teams was a top 50 team. But he did utterly spank them, and so as a way to build hype for a potential up-and-coming release, members will already know, Klim is my prospect of the week. All the spoilers you needed there. For who the next prospect is. If you still haven't cottoned on, I'm sorry, but you need to be lobotomized. Klim has been, absolutely farming. I've made some absolutely absurd comparisons on Twitter and in my script, which is almost, not almost done, but it's a good way in. Should be hopefully done today. He's been, ridiculous. When he was on G2 Ares, he was known as the Quiet 20. Basically, you don't notice him until you hit tab and you're like, 20 kills, 8 deaths. Where has he been? And then you watch his POV, you're like, oh, he's just unbothered, unfazed, very quietly doing what needs to be done, and hitting boring shots. And that's why some of my outrageous comparisons have come out. It's boring shot hit after boring shot hit. Oh, in this position, he should get 2. That's the sort of thing that certain other players are known for doing. When they're in a position to get 2, they just get 2. And it doesn't look that crazy, it doesn't look that flashy, and you think, is that it? And yeah, that's Klim. He's been that so far at the age of 18, which is wild considering how self-assured he looks in his POVs. So Klim, fantastic talent. Waiting to see him against better competition, which we will do this coming weekend when he attends Fijeri some shit. Hang on, what's it called? Fergie Rush 2025. That's coming up this weekend. Dude. Yeah, Fergalicious Rush 2025. Still not sure when Kicker is supposed to show up in this team for Nyx, but so far he's not needed him. He does have another farming session tonight against 2Game in the ESL Challenger League South America Cup, the grand final of it. This 2Game team beat Bestia to come back up into the upper bracket to play again. So 2Game, despite being nobodies, Detroit J, Hardzao, PKL, these are the guys on the team you may recognize or have good stats. They managed to take care of business against a very impressive Bestia side, so nothing to be entirely sniffed at, but still technically not top 50 ranked. Let's see if he can crush him again, shall we?
I think he should. Wow, Fergie's actually hosting a CS event. No, yeah, Klim also one of the people mentioned on that prospect report, though notably 4 spots below Poi. But yeah, solid, very solid player, very good player. That stat line kind of went viral last night. I'm excited to see him because MIBR obviously play a little bit of this lower level tier 1, upper tier 2 lands as well. So I'm excited to see them in. I don't think they're playing ESL Pro League, but they are going to play the Asia Championships. They are looking like they're going to show up in the major. I'm excited for that, to see what Klim can do there. So
yeah, so excited to see him
cool
against real competition. Firstly this weekend, and then afterwards to see him because they're attending. What's it called? They're attending Pro League, right? I believe they are.
I don't know. They aren't.
That's on their schedule. There's something on their schedule coming up. Oh, CS Asia Championships. That's what it is.
Yeah, mid-October.
Mid-October, they're going to be playing that. So hopefully, at that point, they're supposed to have Kicker as well. And they'll be one of the lower seeds coming in. So, yeah, they'll probably have some tough games.
Yeah.
We'll get a real test out of him. Until then, I will still be overly hyping him and making absurd comparisons. So look out for that.
Good chance they get to play like one of the Foot, Huns, Fluxo, Bait, Fnatic even, or Legacy as well, as being a domestic matchup. Like, those sort of games, Klim could really shine. That could be really cool.
Yeah. But okay, that's the show. Those are the prospects. Thank you to everyone who tuned in live. We hit pretty good, like 88 peak concurrence or something today, so love to see it. Always have great performance when there's not some silly Swiss getting in the way of our show timing. God, how inconsiderate. They're trying to tank our views. Clearly, that's the problem. That's why the scheduling has been done that way. Yeah, enjoy the VOD. Those of you who are VOD watchers who made it this far, you're our hero, because that's an incredible amount of CS to listen to, be yapped about. Just like...
Comment which team you would like in the major instead of Liquid or Virtus.pro.
Yeah, and feel free to also spread some vitriol. You have our permission. But yeah, we'll see you next time.